Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Grand Prix Virtual World Championship Sim Racing Leagues. It's the Super League Championship once again. It's a brilliant night for racing, and a fantastic circuit awaits us. Suzuka in Japan. We're coming to the closing stages of qualifying, and that means, of course, that we're going to see a very interesting front row of the grid. In fact, the checkered flag has just gone down on qualifying, so that gives us a little bit of time to talk about things that have happened since Singapore. I know, where was I? So sorry, folks. I am back in the saddle now, once again, though, for Suzuka. Alongside me, old mucker, Josh Anderson. Hello, Josh. Good evening, my friend.
Great to be here once again, Jay. Great to be watching this fantastic race going to unfold through qualifying, going into Suzuka, of course. Brilliant circuit, brilliant cars, brilliant drivers, and it's looking to be a brilliant pull from Rudy Van Buren, who I'm seeing's gone purple in his first two sectors on this last lap. I mean, he was in first already. He doesn't need to go quicker, but he's doing it anyway.
Well, of course, Vodbull are trying to come back from their slight docking of Constructors' Championship points. They want to win both championships, of course, the Vodbull Racing unit with their man, Rudy Van Buren, who does indeed go purple by even more. A 1:31.565 from qualifying. Very strong indeed. Interestingly, though, David Fidek slightly quicker in the third sector overall, so there is a possibility he could be challenged. Of course, in terms of championship permutations, this is going to be an interesting one for Rudy Van Buren. He can win the championship if he wins the race and David Fidek finishes 11th or lower. Now, that is unlikely when we know how strong, Josh, David Fidek's reliability record has been over the 2017 season. He's great at finishing races. This is probably going to go to the Circuit of the Americas, isn't it?
This is probably going to go to quarter, yeah. I mean, David Fidek, we know him as Mr. Consistency. He's so good. He knows that he's pretty much just got to keep going for as long as he can. And, well, Van Buren winning the title might seem like a given. Anything can still happen in these closing couple of races. And he knows that he's got to push this on as long as he can and prolong Rudy from winning the title for as long as he can, even though there's a Constructors' title still to win for Nordstrom.
Absolutely. We're just showing on the stream at the moment. If Rudy Van Buren wins at Suzuka, all he needs effectively is just one more finish on the podium between now and the end of the season to sort out the championship. No matter what happens to David Fidek, he could win the remaining races in the 2017 championship and still Van Buren will get the job done. Incredible when you consider he's having the season of his life, Rudy Van Buren. He's obviously, we have talked about this in recent weeks, having claimed the R Factor 2 hosting of the McLaren's World Fastest Gamer competition. He's the champion of R Factor 2's draw, and now, of course, he'll go through to the final of that in a few weeks' time. He's here, of course, doing what he does best in GPVWC. He's doing a great job in the touring cars alongside the Super League as well, but this is getting close to what he's been after all season long, Josh. And it's up to the drivers like Flo Gaia, who join him on the front row of the grid, and Risto Capit, who we thought was not going to be here this weekend. Thank goodness he is. I think Vodbull will definitely be happy to have him there in third position. It's for guys like him, basically, to challenge.
Yeah, I mean, Risto Capit's going to have to try and make it as hard as possible for anyone to get past Rudy. I mean, he's going to be definite at this stage, I feel. You know, he will be going for wins, of course, but Rudy's championship should definitely come first. So it's going to be a case, really, for Vodbull of just, you know, getting it won.
So let's see how things are going to work out. Here is the Drivers' Championship. We've just seen it on the stream. Rudy Van Buren, 268 points. That is a full 180, sorry, he's 80 points, I should say, clear of David Fidek. Risto Capit in third position from Lee Morris, who sadly is not here for this round championship, as he wasn't at Singapore. 2 weeks ago, it was connectivity issues. Here this weekend, he is having all sorts of difficulties in terms of his working schedule, so he's not here this weekend, nor is team owner Nick Rowland. So we've got a new pair of hands in the sole Mad Cave this weekend, Josh. Mikael Galka, that's a very interesting signing for this one-off.
Yeah, very interesting to see as a one-off. And Michel Galka, obviously, we're going to be interested to see what he can do as well. And another new driver as well. We've got Sergio Harras in the number 4 Adonis car there as well. So a couple of new drivers coming in for Suzuka. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do at this late point in the season. Of course, Adonis have a good car. Mad Cape have an improving car. So it's going to be, they're going to have decent machinery. We're going to see how they're going to be able to do.
So with the drivers getting themselves ready for action, this is obviously going to be an interesting phase of the season. We've had 17 cars lining up on the grid for this one. Several teams struggling to put cars on, put drivers in their seats for the closing scenes of the 2017 season. Now, there's a lot of different reasons for this, Josh. Obviously, you know, this is a championship where drivers do have to invest their time and their energy, and of course, a little bit of money as well. A little bit of cash goes into it. It's not a massive amount, but of course, you do have to take it into account. You know, these guys have a busy working schedule. It's very difficult to drum up a spare seat on the very last minute. We had an issue with downforce on poor Jaden Wright ended up getting busy, and now there's potential for a second drive in the downforce team in Formula Challenge on Tuesday nights as a result. So it is difficult, but we've got 17 drivers on the grid. Here at Suzuka, it could make things pretty spicy.
It could spice things up a lot. I mean, Suzuka's a difficult track. It's not easy at all. You've got the S's, you've got the really tight curves as well. You've got 130R, you've got lots of challenges throughout the circuit, and it could spice things up a lot.
So as the warm-up session is underway at the moment, of course, the big talking point is the fact that Northern Championship, after points from Vodbull Racing were docked between, we believe, the Canadian and the Hungarian rounds of the championship. Is it, Josh? Just remind us.
Yeah, it was between a couple of rounds of the championship where they'd been using the upgrade system slightly, and well, they'd been using that and they'd been putting too many upgrades, so that was resolved though, and they've lost the points between those rounds. The drivers haven't. We need to stress that the drivers have not lost the championship points because it was ruled that they weren't a party to this, a party to the use of the system. But Vodbull have lost the constructors championship points between then, so they are going to have a bit of an uphill climb with a weakened car now. That didn't stop Rudy Van Buren from getting second last time out.
Well, Risto Capit was also due to miss this round of the championship due to back. Fortunately, he is here for this round of the championship as his surgery has been pushed back. So this is a critical moment, ideally, in the championship for Vodbull to have their two-star strikers, as it were, up front going for some decent points this time out.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a great chance for points this time out. You know, I mean, if Van Buren on pole is always, you know, a good sign for him to go ahead and get the win. But you've got to remember that their car is not as strong as it was before. It didn't stop them from doing a great job last time out. But it shows that now with this weakness, they are maybe slightly more vulnerable than they are before. And it's probably going to motivate the rest of the grid.
Do you know, I've got a feeling I think I know who's going to be win in particular this time. Flo Gaia. I'm just watching him at the moment as he goes around. Flo Gaia, he's got absolutely nothing to lose at this stage. Nordian are leading the Constructors' Championship. We know that both Flo and David Fidek are good at bringing the car home in consistent points. Flo knows he's out of the running for the Drivers' Championship effectively now for the rest of the season. He can just give it gusto for the rest of this year and go for race victories. As far as Flo Gaia is concerned, it doesn't matter what happens in terms of championship ramifications because he's already out of it. He can go for victories. And here at Suzuka, he looks really strong, Josh.
Yeah, he looks really strong. And, well, anything could happen in this race. Suzuka's a crazy circuit. There's lots of difficult challenges to go with it. And everyone's going to be worrying about what to do, where they're going to place. You know, Suzuka in itself is a big challenge. And this is going to be a really interesting one.
So there's several drivers who are going to be ones to watch in this one. Alex Cooper is going to be an interesting in the Hawkeye. He will want to have a really, really strong night here. He seems to suit this circuit. His teammate for this weekend, Dino Paolini, will want another good weekend as well. They had some difficulties going into Singapore that were fixed rather quickly just before the race itself. But I think Alex Cooper could be a dark horse here for the win. He was the only driver in the early part of the season, don't forget, that was able to beat Rudy Van Buren in a straight fight in the dry. Okay, that's largely because of the disconnectivity issues at Sochi, but Alex Cooper has a win under his belt. He knows how to pull it out the bag in a difficult situation. He could be one to challenge for the victory today as well.
Could very much so. I mean, I've always said about Alex Cooper, he's a very capable driver, so we'll have to see if he can go for it. I mean, that Hawkeye car is definitely all right. It's probably about the midfield in terms of cars. Very similar now in terms of overall pace and development with the Vodbull. So, you know, he's got the machinery as Alex Cooper, but it's just, can he make the most of it?
Well, we've been asking on the YouTube stream already, GPVWC channel, I'm having trouble with my worms this evening. Who is your winner for tonight? Chris Shepherd, Risto, hopefully. I have to say Risto Capit could be a good shout for tonight. Again, you know, he is in a motivated mood. He will still be hurting a little bit from having won at Spa and then had things go very, very badly wrong in both Monza and Singapore, you could argue, since then. It would be really good to see that Risto Capit once again. I think he could be a really strong shout for it. Balandani on the stream says, Gergo Baldi, no-brainer. It's an interesting one, actually. So far, in terms of his pace, he's quite had what it takes to be near the front, though, Josh. Can Baldi pull it out of the bag?
It's a possibility. I mean, Gergo Baldi, as we know, is a very good driver, but he's going to be starting, you know, he's going to be interested to see if he can. We know the Hungarian's good. We know the Lotus is a good car, but I think a couple of circumstances are going to have to come together, and if he is going to get this win. It's a reduced field today by the looks of it. Only 17 drivers, but, you know, even with that, Gergo's going to have to work hard.
Well, of course, the other man who's worth keeping an eye on is Sergei Heres. Tells us on the stream, Sergei Heres is one to go for the victory. That could be an interesting one. Let's not forget the fact that Sergei Heres, this is his first race of the season as he now partners Fran Lopez in the Adonis car. Sergei Heres, this could be an interesting one for an outside bet, though. He could get the job done. Another one to keep an eye on, though, is Jarl Tyen, the Norwegian. He could be a shout.
Could be a shout indeed, Tyen or, you know, Heras. I mean, Heras has just gone and done a lap there that's just about 3/10 slower than Baldi's in practice, and I assume that's a race simulation that Heras is doing. So Sergi seems to know what he's doing, and he could be an outside contender for a good result. Definitely keep an eye on that number 4 Adonis this race, but Gergo Baldi, of course, well, we know as well, as is, you know, Jarl Tyen, a lot of capable drivers who could do well. As I've just noticed, we have an errant Xavier de Cavallo in the second Mad Cape car, so we're going to get two Mad Capes on the grid.
Well, that is very last minute. Okay, so that is a dark horse right final minute. Both Mad Cape drivers that are regulars in the car, of course, Lee Morris and Nick Rowland, unavailable for tonight. So interesting then that we've got two very different drivers in the car. In your man we've already spoken about, Michel Galka and Xavier de Cavallo. So we've got 18 drivers then on the grid, and that is going to be an interesting challenge for de Cavallo, his first race in GPVWC this season, as well as the man alongside him, Michel Galka. Of course, the difficulty is that they're not used to this particular one, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to struggle. I think it could be a really, really interesting race for the pair of them.
Well, I did not expect that. I did not expect blimey words. I did not expect Cavallo to turn up. It's taken us that much by shock. It's caused us to forget how to do English. But yeah, it's going to be great to see how the Mad Cape team principal is going to do. I mean, the South African, I've not seen him on track at GPV ever. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does.
So as the warm-up session is coming to a conclusion, we've got several unknowns coming into this one. Obviously, mathematically, there is a chance for Rudy Van Buren to finish his championship run and wrap up the title. But the only way that's going to happen is if David Fidek has an absolute howler. I don't really see that one happening tonight. I think he's going to have to wait, Rudy Van Buren, until the Circuit of the Americas next time out. But it is interesting. There are several drivers who are in spitting distance of gunning for a victory here. So I would not be too surprised that this one could be a very, very close battle. For my money, there's at least 5, possibly even 6 drivers who could go for the victory today. And they are the likes of Rudy Van Buren, Alex Cooper, Gergo Baldi, Fidek and Gaia, and maybe possibly you could even have one of the newbies, or certainly one of the unfancied. But then, of course, there is one man that we haven't even mentioned so far as a possibility of going for the victory. And it's not ludicrous to suggest it, Josh. I'm going to put it out there. Fran Lopez. What if this is the weekend he finally gets the job done?
It's not within the realms of impossibility. I reckon you're onto something here. I mean, Fran Lopez, he's always been quick. We know how quick he is. He's 6th on the grid in that Adonis car. And we know Fran, he likes to go all out in that number 7 Adonis car. He's extremely quick. He can hang with the best of them on pace, but it's not only been his season, so it's not an entirely out there. It's not entirely impossible that he could win. You know, I think anyone could go home as the person who takes the silverware home today. But, you know, ultimately, Rudy Van Buren, it doesn't really matter to him when he doesn't win this race. He's still leading the championship by a mile.
We need to talk a little bit as well coming into this one about strategy, because of course, as Alex Cooper goes top of the warm-up session on a 1:35.482, not a bad time, it's worth pointing out that this one could be a mass exodus of pit stops. We are looking at somewhere between 5 and 6 pit stops per driver potentially in this one. The tyres are obviously going to wear a lot here, particularly considering that it's dry. It's Suzuka. It's quite warm. This is a circuit that's very abrasive when it comes to tyre life anyway. You've got to be very canny in making the tyres last. I think the two teams that are going to get the most benefit out of that is probably Vodbull and Nordsjön. We know how good Nordsjön are when it comes to strategy, and Vodbull just seem to have a car underneath them that's good for tyres. But is this lack of development, all the development points they've had taken off them? We saw in Singapore, you know, this actually came back to bite them for the first time in a proper contest. Nordsjön finally got one over on them. Is this going to be the way it goes for the rest of the season, do we think, Josh?
Well, I have to say, we really have to see. I've got no idea going into this. I mean, everyone's brought the same tyres. Everyone's brought the Ultra Softs and Super Softs and the soft. There's no change there. So we're going to see a lot of Ultra Softs and Super Soft being used. Expect a lot of pit stops. And, well, maybe Vodbull will lose out, but maybe the pace of Van Buren will help that.
So we've got plenty of drivers to challenge for victory. We've certainly got an awful lot of battles to take into consideration. In the midfield, we may get a few drivers trying to lead forward. I think Michael Ayers and the Red Archer team, potentially, they could have a good car underneath them. Sandip Choda is another one who could challenge for the top 6 if he has a strong race here. Liam Duval in the Storm Racing car doesn't seem to be too far away from the pace. He is the only one, though, so there's 2 or 3 teams out there who are going to struggle here today, Josh, just because they are a Lone Ranger.
Yeah, it is going to could be a couple of strugglers. Yeah, I mean, at this point of the season, it's not unusual to see a couple of drivers not being able to make it. But, you know, we've got a couple of drivers out there who are Lone Rangers. But still, it's going to be interesting to see how they do in the grand scheme of things. I know for one, Gerrit de Vries, I believe, the only green stripes car on the grid today, which is a shame. No Matt Varley, but we'll see how Gerrit can do, having gone 13th in the practice session, last of everybody. He's never been the fastest driver, but then again, sometimes the best drivers aren't the fastest, they're the ones who are the most consistent.
So, yeah, we have, I think we have both the Kernows on the grid, do we? Or just the one, I think, in Bench Superleague. We have both Adonises, obviously, with Fran Lopez being joined this time by Sergei Heres. Liam Duval, I think, is the only Storm Racing team out there. There might be one Street Fighter as well in David Francic. I don't think the second one is there. So, yeah, there are definitely a couple of teams who are literally just running as a one-man operation this time. And that is an interesting one coming into this. So we've got one Kernow, we've got both Vodbulls, both Nordsjöns, both Hawkeyes with Alex Cooper and Dino Paolini. Michael Ayers and Sandip Choda are both in the Red Archers. Obviously, we have Fran Lopez and Sergei Heres in the Adonises. The Wouters cars are Gergo Baldi and Jarl Tyen, down in 15th on the grid. That is a surprise. And then we have the Mad Capes in 16th and 18th for Michel Galka and Xavier de Carvalho, who didn't qualify, so he is literally coming into this race blind. Gerrit de Vries, as you mentioned, is the only Green Stripes racing car. We also have Ben Schippenek as the only Kernow, and I'm fairly sure David Francic is the only Street Fighter. So, yeah, there are 3 teams there who only have one car on the grid, and that's going to be very interesting coming into this one.
It is going to be very interesting as well. Everyone starts to line up here. We're going to have an interesting little grid up here as we go on the formation lap here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. And, well, Van Buren off on pole. Can he do it?
Well, it's definitely not likely he'll win the championship today, even if he wins the race, because all David Feidek has to do is finish in the top 10, which is what he's good at, and effectively he'll take the championship fight on to Austin, Texas. But it's still an important one psychologically for Rudy Van Buren to win. He will not want to lose a massive lead in the championship of 80 points. So let's talk you through the starting grid. Vodbull Racing number 14. Once again at the front, it's Rudy Van Buren at the front of a grid. Florian Gaia alongside him in the 27. Nordsjön Racing in second position. Risto Capit in the second of the Vodbulls is there in third position on the grid in the 15 car. And then David Feidek, the reigning champion, in the second Nordsjön on fourth on the grid. The best of the rest is led by Alex Cooper in the number 2 Hawkeye Racing Machine in fifth on the grid. Joining him on the third row is the Adonis Engineering number 7 of Fran Lopez. His teammate for this weekend, Sergei Heras, who is there in 7th position on the grid in the Adonis number 4. And Gergo Baldi lines up alongside him on the 4th row in the Wouters Automotive. Michael Ayers in the Red Archer VRT is there in 9th position on the grid. Alongside him, the second Hawkeye of Dino Paolini, lining up in 10th place. Street Fighter Racing Systems number 67 is 11th. That's David Francic. Alongside him is Liam Duval and the Storm Racing number 75. The second of the Red Archers is 13th on the grid. That's Sandip Choda. And then in 14th on the grid is Bent Schuppenek in the Kernow Sport number 83. 15th on the grid and struggling so far, Jarl Tyen has to start from 15th place in the Wouters number 33. Michel Galka, welcome back to the championship in the Mad Cape Racing Team number 16. Gerrit de Vries, 17th in the Green Stripes racing car. And having missed qualifying, Xavier de Carvalho lines up in the second Mad Cape in number 62 in 18th. Interesting battle. We'll see at least Tyan, probably Galka and De Carvalho making up some places from the start, but this is Suzuka. There's not a lot of room for manoeuvre in that first corner, and a lot of drivers will want to make up places early on, Josh. I smell fireworks in the offing.
Well, it could be a very interesting turn one indeed. Obviously, you know, turn one at Suzuka, very famous centre cross collision occurred there once before. Maybe we'll see something similar. Hopefully we don't, of course, as the drivers come out of the grid. Xavier De Carvalho will be starting from the pit lane, obviously, because he missed qualifying. But Van Buren, Gaia, Capet, Fidek, all are going to be getting the maximum charge on it to turn one. I don't know what's going to happen, but one of those four will definitely be really in contention for the win if they can get a good start. Though Cooper and Lopez will just be hoping that the worst possible does happen and they can maybe go into the lead. Who knows?
Well, Rudy Van Buren is going to want to make sure that Valiant power unit underneath get an absolute flyer of a start. It will be tricky. His teammate Risto Capit will want to go with him and play second fiddle if he can. David Fidek in 4th position. He is not a man to accept defeat lying down. He will want a good start off the grid. Fran Lopez alongside Alex Cooper. As far as those two are concerned, they're not in the mix for the championship. They will want a good one. Here we go. Lights on. Wait for it. Let's race at Suzuka. Good start at the front from Rudy Van Buren. He gets a light getaway. He's going to try and beat into the first corner. Already drawing alongside. He's going to try and sit it. There's contact between the two of them. Gaia spins off there on the far side. Manages to get it in. And now that's David Fidek gone around. I don't believe it. David Fidek has gone around in the mix. That is an absolute disaster. He recovers in front of Ben Stupanek. But it's Flo Gaia who leads the way. Capit second, Van Buren third. How did those two not avert more disaster? Lopez in 4th. Paulini in 5th. Heras in 6th from Ayers. Fidek, Stupanek. And Stupanek is trying to make the move on Fidek already. Francic in 10th position. Michel Galka's up to 11th place from Tyan. Baldi in 13th. A terrible start for Gego Baldi. Choda 14th from Alex Cooper, who's had an absolute nightmare. And now that's Choda running wide. So Cooper and Duval are both going through there. But Gerrit de Vries is there in 17th with Javier De Carvalho. An awful start for Alex Cooper and for Gego Baldi. But how on earth did Gaia and Van Buren not get spun out to the scenery, Josh?
Well, it was a mental start. Off the start there, I mean, Van Buren gave Gaia as little room as he possibly could, and there was contact made. It was the front left of Gaia and the rear right of Van Buren. I'm sure the DC will be looking at that one over an iron fist, but it's what happened afterwards that was interesting. Van Buren went off the track, and on the rejoin, just didn't see David Fidek, went straight into him, and that's what spun Fidek round in front of the Adonis's car. Then got hit by the Wouters of Gergo Baldi, who got hit by Alex Cooper. Baldi and Fidek went airborne, both went off, and everyone else managed to avoid. But I'm sure David Fidek will be feeling like a very aggrieved Brit right now, thanks to Van Buren.
Well, absolutely, especially considering that the man who hit him was his championship opposition, Rudy Van Buren. Can't deny that there is going to be some controversy about that one and potentially a penalty given out to Rudy Van Buren for an unsafe rejoin around the circuit. Managing to come straight back into the path of his main championship opposition. So David Fidek will feel aggrieved. So too will Norton Racing. They will want to get any advantage they can on Rudy Van Buren today. They'll want to take the championship down to the wire if they possibly can. And this is the perfect way to stretch it out, especially when you consider that Van Buren is still there in the top 3. Fidek, with an awful lot of damage, may lose the championship if the car won't go anyway.
Well, it doesn't look like there's much damage. Actually, it seems like he's come off scot-free somehow, although I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't been mentally shaken by that. Even someone like David Fidek, you don't expect that sort of incident to happen. Van Buren, though, was already on the catch of Capit and Gaia. Gaia obviously made the most of the start incident there, and he's gotten out. Capit, though, really the saint in all this, had no parts of it. Now he's into second. He's made the best gain, has a chance to close down the German and get into the lead for Vodball.
Yeah, if I'm Risto Capit, this is a golden opportunity to go for the victory here, to beat Flo Gaia in a straight fight. But let's be fair, if you look at the rivalry between Gaia and Capit over the season, it's a little 50-50 between these two. They're very good at racing each other. They've had some good battles over the course of the season, and this one is going to be quite tight because Gaia has beaten Risto Capit almost as many times as Capit has beaten Gaia through the course of the season. Rudy Van Buren sat in 3rd position, can almost afford to just sit there and watch it happen. He's in a position where he's still in front of David Fidek. He's not in a position where he can panic at this point. He doesn't need to worry far too much at this point. Lopez in 4th position has started well. Dino Paulini is the real victor in all of that melee. He's come through in P5 just in front of Sergei Heras. So Michael Ayers has given himself a good benefit from that start as well in 7th position. So a lot of victors from that incident.
Yeah, a couple of people really won out there, and a couple of people obviously lost out, as we saw. And, well, Sergio Herras there, obviously making a decent start to get up with 6. Good debut so far from him. Seems to have a bit of a fan club in comments, actually. A lot of people saying they came here to watch him today. So, all eyes on Sergio, I guess. Going to see how we can go against Dino Paolini. And in this battle of the Hawkeye versus, you know, Adonis, both powered by the same engine, of course. Hawkeye, the Talos Works team. And then you've got the customer team in Adonis. But going to be interesting to see how these drivers face up against each other. As Michael Ayres wants to get involved too, as does Fidek.
Well, it's always interesting, isn't it, to see drivers such as Sergio Herras make his way into the GPVWC, obviously being an FS. Very much akin to the whole MotoGP versus WSBK championship. One will say it's better than the other. They are both sanctioned world championships with a massive fan base on both sides. But it's always fascinating to see how one driver does in one compared to the other. And when one comes across from one stable to the other, how well they'll get on. And it's always been very fascinating to me to observe just how good drivers can be in both. Now, Risto Capit back to the front. The Estonian is definitely piling on the pressure to Flo Guy. Rudy Van Buren is just looking after the tyres at this point. This is what he needs to do to get the job done. Now, Rudy Van Buren could still win this race today. No problem at all with that in third position. He can just sit back, give himself a bit of clean air, and allow Guy and Capit to get in on. And this is going to be a very interesting battle between the two of them.
Oh, it's going to be very interesting because Gaia and Capit are going to be pushing each other to the maximum. Van Buren's just going to hold back and watch his tyres because obviously, you know, he's probably being hit by the controversy that's just happened there as well. Lopez is going to be chasing Paolini. He's going to be chasing Herras and Paolini currently embroiled in a big battle for 5th. But Capit and Florian Gaia is where he wants to be at the moment because Capit is just going to get through ultimately. Otherwise, he's going to be stuck behind the German.
Lap 4, and Gaia is your leader from Capit by half a second. Van Buren third from Lopez, Paolini, Herras, Ayres, Fidek, Francic and Gergo Baldi rounding out the top 10 in front of his teammate Jarl Tyen. Other than those little bumps and bucks through the first couple of corners, no other major incidents, no major damage to any of the cars either. They're all circulating around. No major surprises either to see that Michel Golka and Xavier de Carvalho are basically just circulating around in the Mad Capes in the same sort of speed differential as Gerrit de Vries. There's only 15 places in the points, of course, and 18 drivers currently running. So it looks like Galka, de Vries and de Carvalho are possibly going to be our mobile chicanes this weekend.
Well, you gotta feel for Xavier. He's come in at probably very short notice with minimal practice. You have to admire him for getting into that second Mad Cave car. You know, because I certainly didn't expect this. I don't think it was contracted until a very short while ago. So unless he's been practicing beforehand, this is a very last minute deal for Xavier. So you know, anyone that comes there a last minute deal, it just manages to get round, get to the end of a race. I think is a winner in my eyes because you've just had not as much time to practice. You haven't had time to prepare your mind, your body, or anything for the challenge of a Super League race. And you know, as good as Xavier is, the lack of practice has probably hurt his pace.
Schupanek pitting. Oh, he's actually clipped the wall on the way into the pits. Ben Schupanek, as he comes into the pits, he must have some kind of damage to be pitting this early on. Surely the tyres aren't lasting 4 laps. You know, nobody else pitted, so I think Schupanek must have some difficulties.
Well, he's gone on to Supers there, so maybe the Ultras was just starting to tail off for him and he decided to get off them before they fall off the cliff. I don't know. Maybe he's pushed the tyres harder, maybe he's having problems, I don't know. But we'll have to see if anyone else pits sooner afterwards. Otherwise, those Ultra Soft tyres are not really going to be ones to stay on this race, and we're going to be seeing a lot of the Supers.
So Gaia still leads the way, 6/10 ahead of Risto Capit. Rudy Van Buren is only another 6/10 of a second back from that. Lopez in 4th position in front of Paolini, Herras, Ayres, Fidek, Francic and Gergo Baldi. So we're not in championship winning mode yet for Rudy Van Buren by any means at all. Van Buren is not leading, he's in 3rd, and Fidek is not outside the top 10. He is in 8th position, but that will have shaken him to his core a little bit in terms of race strategy. He's now got to be trying to find a way to make up. Well, the gap to Rudy Van Buren is now about 8 seconds. But what you've got to do over the course of the next 20 laps or so, if you can't clear these guys, is double it. You're looking at about a 16-second deficit that he's got to make up now to Rudy Van Buren over the rest of the race.
Yeah, it's not an easy one to make up at all as well. And, well, that is going to be a difficult gap. I mean, Suzuka, there's lots of overtaking opportunities if you can find them, but it's a difficult circuit. It's about keeping yourself in check as much as anyone else. As Lopez comes in, and as does Michael Ayres as well. So we've got 2 more pitters in the form of Lopez and Ayres getting off the Ultra Soft tiers. Oh dear, I've just seen that there's a Nordgen gone off, and that, I believe, one of the Nordgens was in the gravel. I think it was Florian Gaia.
That's got to be the leader. Yeah, that's got to be the leader, Flo Gaia. That is a very big disaster. He was battling with Risto Capit into turn 1. Capit went round the outside and they clipped. Now that is the second Vodbull incident involving a Nordgen in the space of 6 laps. So, well, Risto Capit sweeping around the outside of Flo Gaia. The question is that worthy of a penalty? That is definitely debatable.
Well, Gaia was turning into the corner, Kappa was turning in a bit more. Maybe they just came together, it was a clash of lines, I don't know. I think Risto was around the outside. I think he just turned in a bit too much, but I would be very, I couldn't call that malicious at all. I think Risto must have just misjudged it, going on the outside, or Florian didn't turn in enough, maybe he's expecting Risto to go wider. Personally, I think we're an incident, but we'll have to see what the DC says.
Well, absolutely. I'd agree with you that wasn't intentional. Malicious from Capit. He is not that kind of driver, but what you deny is the fact he's made an overtaking move around the outside of the first corner, and now he goes off the circuit trying to hold in front of Rudy Van Buren. He could really move over at this point and led his team leader through, but Risto Capit, you can't deny, he's made the move. He dives for the pits. Capit dives for the pits. Now, he's made the move on Flo Gaia, and the problem is that whether you call it
Gaia
malicious
responds.
and intentional or not, Gaia responds and pits in as well. So too does Paolini. But you can't deny the fact that there was contact between the two of them, and Capit gained an advantage through the contact. Now, that is something they have to take into consideration.
Yeah, it will be a consideration for sure as Capit now comes out on the super subs. Paolini is going to come out on the supers as well. Gaia comes in and will exit on the ultras. Interesting. Maybe Gaia wants to try and make up more time, but if they're only asking 5 laps, maybe it's not the most thought out strategy in the world. But he comes out in 10th now. Gaia does, and Capit comes out in 7th. So there's 3 positions between them, and Van Buren, you've got to remember, is still leading.
Well, we've had a request from Chris Shepherd for a replay. We'll try our best to get another look at that incident. Very interesting start to this race, though, as there are 2 incidents between a Vodbull and a Nortzian. Very interesting. And Rudy Van Buren now leads the way from Sergi Heras in 2nd position. David Fidek is 3rd from Francic. Baldi, Jarl tired. Now, that is interesting because Fidek has made that move on David Francic on the racetrack because he was behind him, I'm fairly confident. Now, Gego Baldi is sizing up a move on Francic. 1 wheel on the grass as he sweeps through towards the spoon curve. Now he goes right as Francic defends to the inside. Baldi will now switch his tack and go to the inside line. Francic shuts the door, and Baldi's already on his inside line. So Baldi is able to keep the place because Francic decides to concede. He realizes, if I'm going to commit to this, I'm going to take him off the racetrack. I'll just have another go into the 130R. Baldi doing exactly what he should do there. He places the car right in the middle of the circuit. That counteracts Francic. Tyan slips through, and the Wouters cars are up to 4th and 5th. Great strategy there in the middle of a battle from Gergo and Jarl.
Yeah, great one. And Francic decides to pit, comes in. David Fidek comes in as well from 3rd. So here we go. Here's the number 1 in as well as David Francic coming in the 67. So we'll see what strategies these two go in. Fidek is going to hit his box now, I believe. He's just going to hit the brakes now. Comes into the box, up on the jacks. He stays on the ultras as well. So that must be the Norwegian strategy going on there. And David Francic comes out on the supers.
So Flo Gaia rejoins after all of that. 3 places in front of David Fidek. So Fidek has rejoined in 10th position. Now, interestingly, Rudy Van Buren currently leads the race, and Fidek is in 10th. Now, obviously, this is to do with the pit stop strategies, and this is the way that the pit stop sequences is working. But how interesting is it that Risto Capit has boxed? I think he pitted at the end of lap 5. We're on lap 8 now, and Rudy Van Buren is still out there. He's still making these tyres work.
He is still making those tyres work. In fact, he's just done a 137.3 on them. So, you know, it's not the fastest he's gone. It's about 1.3 seconds down on his fastest. The Florian Gaia on those new tyres has just gone purple in Sector 1. And Lopez has just set a personal best on 135.9, having just pitted as well. So you're losing about 1.5 seconds on 1 tyres.
Well, the stream is quite adamant. Chris Shepherd says Risto's fault. Bruno says he didn't give enough space. Fabian Rude, that should be a penalty. So several members of the stream. Yep, RVB makes the pit stop. So Van Buren is coming into the pits from the lead. But the stream is adamant. Risto deserves a penalty for that one as far as they are concerned. We'll have to see what is handed out by the race officials. But at this moment in time, you can't even begin to think about the possibility of a penalty as Baldi comes in as well. They've just got to keep racing. They've got to put it to the back of their minds and hope for the best. And as a result of that, those who tuned in to see Sergi Heras in a strong position have been rewarded through the pit stops. Sergi Heras is leading. And let's not forget, Sergi Heras is leading the race considering the fact that Rudy Van Buren has already pitted. Sergi has not. He's still going on this same set of tyres.
Well, that's ultimate tyre preservation there. I mean, he's lost about 1.7 on the way, so he's lost more than Rudy has. Gaius just had the fastest lap of the race on a 1:35 too, so the German getting it into a good rhythm now. But, you know, props to Sergi. At this rate, he's going to lead a lap in GPVWC.
Right, this is important because Rudy Van Buren has beaten Flo Gaia out of the pits. So Rudy Van Buren is now running 5th behind Fran Lopez, and Flo Gaia is in 6th position. So through that phase of the pit stops, Rudy Van Buren has actually beaten Flo Gaia out of the pit lane. Of course, that is to do with the fact that Flo Gaia got into the wars there with Risto Capit, but that is still very important to consider that actually Rudy Van Buren is only 3 seconds up the road from Flo Gaia. So Flo's fast lap times on this set of tyres has actually decreased some of that deficit to Rudy Van Buren. I think he's taken about 2 seconds off him. He was about 5 seconds in, the 5 seconds ahead before the pit stop, so he has made up some time.
I'm just watching Tyan and Kappa go at it for second as well, and, well, Jarl Tyan having elected to go on the soft tyres, that's been his trademark, actually, a lot. I've noticed he goes on the harder compounded tyres. He likes the soft tyres, it seems. Herass pits, the Capit regain the lead, and Tyan on the softs now seems to be still being able to stick it to Capit, which is pretty good.
So, whatever you say, Sergei Herass has led 1 lap of GPVWC 17 here at Suzuka. He did cross the line before the Vodboard driver, Rudy Van Buren, got to his pit box. And look, this is Fidek making the move on Ayres down in the first. And Fidek sweeps by Michael Ayres. No problem at all. Nothing doing. And that is a definite game changer in this one. He's 9 seconds behind his teammate, Flo Gaia, but his teammate is the next car up the road.
Yep, and it looks like Vodbull are going on the defensive in the comments. I've seen that they're saying apparently there's a part of the track on the inside of that first corner, and there might avoid incidents if we use it at all. But to be honest, I don't see how Gaia could have avoided that.
Oh, bit of a problem there for Lopez as he's trying to hold Rudy Van Buren up. Struggling to make these guys last then. He's one of those drivers who will try a clever trick to see if he can go a little bit further around into the stint to see if he can make the tyres last longer. Jarl Tyan doing the same thing to gain track position. Rudy Van Buren is now coming around the outside of Fran Lopez to try and get through. These two, of course, have been opponents in the McLaren's World's Fastest Gamer. Fran Lopez goes out wide. Van Buren has to back off. It's very interesting to see these two battle for position.
It is Lopez and Van Buren, both really, really quick drivers. Both love winning. Lopez, we know how good he is, the young Spaniard. Fantastic driver. And Van Buren, of course, R-Factor 2's fastest gamer. Real clash of the titans here in GPVWC Super League. And one of the few times we've got to see them go at it on each other this season. Van Buren's going to have, I believe, the DRS down the front straight. And he'll go for the move down the inside of Lopez unless Lopez covers it. It looks like Fran isn't going to cover it just yet. And now he does. But Van Buren's not going to be deterred. And he doesn't have the room, has to yield, and Lopez holds it. Brilliantly timed by Fran Lopez to move over when he did.
Yeah, a split second after or a split second before, and I think Van Buren would have got the move done, but that just spooked Rudy Van Buren enough to think, he's the kind of guy who's never going to give going to the side of him here, and that was beautifully defended from Fran Lopez. This is a hammer blow for Rudy Van Buren's race, actually. He's losing time to Flo Gaia, being stuck behind Fran Lopez, but he can't just go for the banzai move. He's got to be thinking about Constructors' Championship points as much as he is race points, especially when you consider that both these drivers in the Vodbull team potentially under fire. Van Buren for cutting across David Fidek on the second corner of the first start, and Risto Capit for doing the same thing to Flo Flo Gaia on the beginning of lap 5. So interesting things going on there with the Vodbull team. It looks as if these penalties and the docking of championship points has really hurt them hard. Their resolve is starting to crumble.
Yeah, and what else is crumbling is the potential for Van Buren to catch Capit. Oh, he's getting stuck behind Tyan. Lopez is getting stuck behind Tyan. Now Lopez is the outside of Tyan. Van Buren's going to have to wait at this point, you feel. And, yep, Rudy's going to have to wait as Lopez goes through on Jarl. Jarl now goes wide, and Van Buren goes down the outside. And now the battle's back on, but they've gotten held behind, and time has been lost. Tyan goes for the little move there, and it doesn't work. Tries to go for it, but Capit's still leading, and now has 4.4 seconds over the Adonis driver. Look how defensive he's going!
Lopez is absolutely married to the inside line there as they go down the right. Don't even think about coming through, Rudy. I am going to hold this as long as I can. Can I just point out, Fran Lopez is leading this battle for second position. He's on lap 12. He has yet to pit. Can I just point that out? He has not pitted yet. So Fran Lopez is going the distance on this one set of tyres. This is absolutely incredible.
And if he's lucky, he might only pit a couple of laps before Van Buren as well. So apparently Lopez has pitted. And he pitted on lap 5. He pitted on lap 5. So he's on the same strategy as Van Buren and the likes here. Though Rudy made his tyres last longer, he's on a similar sort of strategy here. So this is legitimately for position.
Well, that means then that Lopez has managed to make up time on Rudy Van Buren. What did I say? There's a chance Lopez could win this one. Today could be the day. He is right there in the mix. Risto Capit's getting away up front, though. This could potentially be his race to lose. But Lopez has decided to demonstrate to Rudy Van Buren. Oh, he's run wide. He's run wide.
Yeah, well, he's run wide there, and he's just let RVB straight through.
Yeah, he heard me talking about him, and unfortunately, that was usually the commentator's curse, so Van Buren has gone through into second position. Lopez hasn't given up, though. He's still right there, going for the move to get him back. So Lopez is going to try and have another crack at Rudy Van Buren. Meanwhile, Jarl Tyen has got Flo Gaia right behind him. That is how much time Rudy Van Buren lost, stuck behind Fran Lopez. Flo Gaia is literally only a couple of car lengths down the road, and both he and Tyen pit together.
Yeah, both coming into the pits at the same time. This will be a battle in the pits. Lopez gets the DRS and he's starting to cut time on Van Buren, but he'll have to be very aggressive in these first couple of corners if he wants to make even more up and have a chance of catching the judgment. Fidek goes through into 4th then, and he moves up a place. And I'm seeing in the comments, Chris Shepard saying don't count Sergi Harris out as well. He might make up some positions if he can make his tyres last longer. Very much still in the running here as the newcomer.
Very good point, actually, because Dino Paolini and David Francic are out of sequence compared to Heras. Heras has fresher tyres. If he's not going to be held up too long behind these guys, Sergei Heras has a genuine chance, at least at the podium, if not the whole thing, because he's been very conservative in terms of keeping those tyres very warm. His pace, I'm just looking at his lap times, he's been incredibly smooth and very efficient on this set of tyres that he was changed onto. So, again, you've got a very good point, guys. Sergei Heras is absolutely rapid at the moment, but consistently so. It's not lightning speed, but it's exactly what he needs to be doing to get himself into a good position. And he's in front of Jarl Tyen and Flo Gaia at the moment. Gaia is going to get particularly frustrated, sat behind Jarl Tyen for much longer.
Yep, and Heras, I'm sure, is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on this race, the Spaniard, obviously. Now, I've not heard of him before.
Oh, Lopez has had an accident! Sorry, Josh. Lopez has gone off.
Oh, a big one. No rear wing.
So, that's happened into the spoon curve. He's gone into the left-hander at the second part of the apex, and he's just drifted onto the curbs. Bang into the barrier. Bang into the barriers on the other. Oh, disaster for Fran Lopez. Just when we thought maybe he's got a chance in this one. Boom! He bins it. What a shame.
Yep, and now all, chance of a podium does lie in these Spanish compatriot times of Sergi Heras now, as I believe Paolini's coming too. Heras has got a shot on Francic now, I believe. Both have DRS, so nothing expected to happen on this straight. But Heras going to be really chasing down the Croatian now. The only chance at a podium for Adonis Engineering now.
Cooper in the pits as well with his teammate Dino Paolini. So Paolini gets in, Cooper double stacks, and they don't lose time in the result of doing that. Van Buren has just been stepping on it, and he's got the gap down to his teammate Risto Capit down to 2.9 seconds. So he is absolutely electric at this point. Fidek is in 3rd position after all of that. Baldi is currently 4th from Francic, Heras, Flo Gaia and Jarl Tyen. Now, what's going to be interesting is how long can David Fidek make this set of tyres go? Because he's now safe in 3rd position, 4 seconds clear of Gergo Baldi. Another one who could get himself into a good position through this phase of the pit stop window. So Fidek might be able to get himself, just looking at the times, if he gets himself onto the back of Jarl Tyen, that would be enough. He's only going to lose, well, a few more seconds than that. He'll rejoin. If he was to pit now, he'd rejoin about 4 seconds behind Jarl Tyen by my calculations. So he'd still lose quite a considerable amount. But Sergei Heras is losing time, as Jeff Fournier points out, with David Francic in front of him. So he's going to need to find a way to get through. The problem he's now got, though, is Flo Gaia is going to get there first. And as a result, Jarl Tyen is going to get the move on Sergei Heras.
Yeah, Heras being, harassed into 8th place, I guess, and Tyen and Francic now very close as well. So it's going to be JT versus DF, and not David Fidek, that is. That's the other DF. But, yeah, and Tyen here, well, Francic pits, so there goes Tyen into 6th place. Gaia ahead now, from Baldi ahead, Fidek ahead, Van Buren ahead, and Cabot ahead. Francic obviously comes in then, but Sergi's going to want to try and get past Jarl. Almost goes on the rest there, watch it.
Yeah, that was very, very close, wasn't it? He decided he was going to go side of the apex there. And two wheels started to go over. Oh, Xavier de Carvalho is out. Well, that was a disappointment there for Xavier de Carvalho. He had some good moves in that race, but he's clearly had an incident somewhere down the line, and that is game over for one of the Mad Capes.
Yeah, it just seemed to be that Xavier went off at turn 1. Yeah, he went off at turn 1, and then he just seemed to lose it, and then he went on the grass and he just packed it in. He just seemed to have had enough rather than anything. There's nothing wrong with the car. It's Van Buren and Cabot. Look how close they are now. Van Buren's closed right up to the back of the Estonian. And this is going to be interesting to see what happens from here. Van Buren, I expect, will go through. He's going to go to the inside, and Cabot not offering too much resistance here. He's giving it the full red line, and no, he doesn't go through. Well, I thought there would be no team orders at Red Bull. That point being proven.
When was the last time you saw these guys have an actual battle between each other? My goodness, Risto Capit, that's the first time all season we have seen the signal going, no, Rudy, I'm going to win this one. That was genuinely frightening. What's the one rule in motor racing? You don't hit your teammate. We almost saw that right there.
Yeah, Van Buren had been catching up for the last couple of laps. He'd been making significant inroads on Capit. But right at that moment there, he said, nope, you're not going through, sonny boy. You're going to have to wait. Feidig pits as well. Van Buren is now going to be forced to make... He knows now, if he didn't know before, if he wants to win this race, he's going to have to work for it.
Well, I suppose at this point, you know, the championship is a difficult one now because Capit can't win it effectively. Mathematically, he's still in the hunt, but realistically, this is the race where he's going to be knocked out of the fight for the championship. So from Risto Capit's point of view, it's like, okay, Rudy, if you want to win this championship, you're going to have to go through me, sunshine. Give it a go and come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. But Gergo Baldi has beaten Risto Capit out of the pits. Flo Gaia is now right on his tail. Game on for the victory.
Really is. I mean, that's now, it's like everyone else has failed to beat Van Buren. Now his own teammates standing up to him. Does anybody want him to win the championship?
I tell you what, Vodbull have definitely gone about this the hard way here at Suzuka. A couple of incidents in the 6 laps, and now they're going to war with each other, a civil war. And poor Mike Pittman must be down to his bones, chewing away at nails on the pit wall there. This is a really difficult situation for him to be watching. They do know that the one thing they can't afford to do is hit each other, because they do still want to win the Constructors' Championship, and they can pass and overtake Nordsian in the points again. They can still wrap it up, even with the penalty and the points docked. So they can get this Constructors' Championship back, but they've got to work together to do it. Nobody's working together in that team at the moment.
Well, I'm sure they can work together. They've worked together so well over the season. I'm sure they can get along for a little bit longer. And, well, a second place would still be good for Van Buren, all things considered. You know, he's pretty much got one hand on the title already. His Baldy pits. Even a second place would be all right for him. Even if he didn't win the race outright and Risto Capit did, he'd still be in serious... It would still pretty much be his championship.
Right, there's 5 drivers in the bid for this victory, for my money. Van Buren, Capit, Gaia, Tyen and Heras, and they are in the top 5. I think it's now an outside bet for David Feidig. The only reason I say that is because he's half a minute back on Rudy Van Buren at this point. That is an awful amount of time to try and make up. He's got to hope for Rudy Van Buren to make a mistake somewhere along the line. Feidig has definitely been dealt a really tough hand of cards here. So far, though, I've noticed no penalty has been handed out to either Rudy Van Buren or Risto Capit. Maybe they're going to let it go.
I think it's going to be a post-race affair. I think usually in incidents like this, the DC do look at it after the race has been passed over, because there's just more people who can look at it then. So I believe there will be a post-race investigation, and we'll see the fallout coming into the next race, if there is going to be any. But Van Buren, for now, I think he just needs to get it out of his mind and out of his sight and deal with it later.
Well, I think if they finish 1 and 2 in the manner that they're currently, I would not at all be surprised if 1 or 2 teams decide to have a look into it, because they will not be particularly kindly towards the team that has got both their men out in the top 2. What about elsewhere down the order? Alex Cooper really struggling now down in 10th position. How many times this season have we said this, Josh, about Alex Cooper? If he gets himself into a good position, he is there for the taking in terms of going for the victory, and he's been brilliant in qualifying, absolutely mighty in qualifying. First 5 laps of the race, though, Cooper just seems to have a bullseye on the back of his car. Everybody seems to be going for him.
Yeah, it seems to just be that everyone wants to have a go at him, and he's the prime target for everyone, as Alex Cooper, you know. But well, You know, as I've always said about him, that he's a great driver. He's always had, you know, great talent. And he's got the machinery. It's just he hasn't been able to make use of it in this race. I mean, remember that brilliant double overtake he pulled off at Hungary in the wet. That is an example of how good he is as a driver. And, you know, he just doesn't seem to have had the best start of this race. But Alex Cooper, immensely talented, that number 2 Hawkeye driver. And, you know, he's one of those people who you go into a Super League race and, you know, you think of people who could win it. You can never count him out because he's just that good.
Good point made there by Andreas Valtes. GPVWC has never given a penalty, ever. Is that sarcasm or is that a fact? I'm very sure it's a fact.
Well, not in my memory.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, Yaltai and his man is still there in P4 with Gergo Baldi running in P7 at the moment. Only 3 seconds back from David Fidek. Paulini, Francic and Cooper is the train of cars running around in the battle for 8th position. Michael Ayres in 11th. Liam Duval in 12th position from Fran Lopez, who is still on the lead lap, I have to say. Fair play to him. They've got the car going as Rudy Van Buren is back in the pits for his 3rd pit stop. Now, that's interesting. That's his 2nd pit stop, isn't it?
Yeah, this is his 2nd pit stop. First pit stop was lap 9. This one's lap 18. Cabot's going to overtake for the lead again. So he will get out ahead of his teammate. Considerably so. Florian Guyvik's going to beat him out, and he has done. Jarl Tyne will be in contention as they come into the first turn. And even Jarl Tyne gets through, so the Norwegian through, but he goes straight off, and Van Buren gets a position right back.
Well, that's a real shame for Jarl Tyne, but I tell you what, that is a big moment for Flo Gaia in this race. He has beaten Rudy Van Buren out of the pits. Now, when you consider that Flo Gaia was behind both Vodbulls at one stage after that spin when he and Capit collided, that is a big, big jump for Flo Gaia. And even though they're on different tyre strategies, that definitely gives Flo Gaia a genuine crack at the victory now.
You got to remember, though, that we're expecting Gaia in with the next 3 laps because those ultras have only lasted about 6 or 7 laps per one, and he's been on them for about 4, so we're expecting him in within 3, so he's just going to lose the position back to Van Buren anyway.
So Jarl Tyne in P4, Sergei Hadas in P5, and David Fidek in 6th. From Baldi, Paulini, Francic and Cooper. Cooper's now really giving David Francic a tough time of it at this point, as they're trying to make their way up towards the Castrol hairpin into the right-hander, into the left-hander, sorry, and then they make their way down through, flat on the throttle, up through the gears. Cooper will be getting a little bit of draft from Francic at this point, but the wind shifts so much in the turbulence, you've got to be so careful to keep the car position ready for the double left at Spoon. It's so easy to run wide through the middle part of the apex. The car just twitches on the mid part of the curve, and then you've got to get back on the power about 3/4 of the way through. You can't afford to do it any earlier because that pitches the car slightly sideways, which is exactly what happened to Fran Lopez as Rudy Van Buren sweeps round the outside of Flo Gaia. That is one heck of an overtake.
Yep, so many times in this race, I've always seen incidents happen at Tier 1, but not this time, it seems. Van Buren just went straight to the outside. He got the DRS. He was ahead before he even made the corner and then just outbraked Gaia, and it was all done and dusted from there. So into 2nd goes Van Buren, and Gaia forces out for 3rd.
Yep, so for the moment, Flo Gaia beaten to the corner before he even gets to that point on the circuit, which is a real shame. Alex Cooper again trying to dice his way through past Francic, as they make their way through the S's at the first part of the lap. Sergei Hadas, just watching him now as he tries to close in on Jarl Tyne. He will have seen Tyne run off the road, and that will be his new motivation. He'll go, right, well, he's just gone off the circuit. I can beat him out. I can get a little bit more ground made up on him, and when we do our next round rotation of pit stops, I'm going to get out in front of the Norwegian. That's going to be his main motivation right now.
That will be his motivation, yeah, just to get back out in front, and we'll have to see if he does, of course. But, well, we're 36% of the way through. Capit still leads from Van Buren by 4.5 seconds. So, still the one who's arguably the favourite to win this race. You know, Russell Capit, you can't deny at this point in the race, he is still the favourite. Though Van Buren looks to be siding time out the Estonian at a rate of knots. So, keep an eye on those 2 Vodbulls. They've gone to battle before in this race. It could happen again.
And Chris Shepherd's got his finger on the pulse. Alex Cooper and David Francic just showed how it's done. Turn 1. They certainly did. Absolutely cracking battle between the 2 of them. As Flo Gaia now pits from P3. Jarl Tyne takes over the position. Sergei Hadas is going through. Fidek is going to go through. Baldi's going to go through. But I think he'll just get out Flo Gaia before the Paulini Francic Cooper scrap comes through. Or it'll be just as they come through. So it's going to be close. But But I think Flo Gaia will get there just in front of David Francic. Oh, no, he's that scared at the free, so he's all right. He's beaten Dino Paolini out of the way.
Heras has gone off from 5th. I've just noticed as well. Sergi's gone off. He's having some sort of incident. He was coming out of turn 1. Yeah, and he just went a bit too wide, hit the curb, into the grass, just backed the front wing off there, then had to do a U-turn, and he's finished, he's come out where he has, and he's now gone off again. And this time it looked like Gaia got held up as well. Yeah, Gaia came out of the pits. Heras had spun before, and then, yeah, Sergi was slow, and, yep, Gaia, oh! Heras lost it. Heras lost it, and Gaia just came in on the inside and tapped him.
Oh, that's yet another incident for Flo Gaia to be part of. Not someone else's incident. The Adonis ship comes crashing to the rocks as Sergei Heras is now down in 10th position. I don't know what damage he'll have got from that, but Flo Gaia, he's the one who's come off worse. I think the Nordsian victory dream has now just died.
Yeah, there wasn't much Heras could do. He was stuck on the inside anyway. Really not much further he could go. And, well, maybe Gaia just being a bit too optimistic now. Cooper's now having a chance at the Nordstian driver. And Heras is down in 10th. Really not an incident either of them wanted. And both of them have really suffered as a result of that there. Y'all tying those being promoted into 3rd. So, could be on for a Wouters podium. 3rd place from number 33, perhaps.
Just watching the replay of Flo Gaia making his way up the inside of Alex Cooper into Spoon Curve. I love watching drivers in see when they've got the red mist, because they just pull out something extra special. Gaia down into the braking zone for Spoon, absolutely determined that Alex Cooper was going to concede the place. And Alex literally just stood on the brakes and went, you know what, I'm not even getting involved. This is clearly a different situation. You just have the place, mate. I'm not going to ruin my race. When clearly you've got a point to prove. As Sergei Heras does come into the pits, Cooper likewise, and so too in his Gerrit de Vries. But Sergei Heras is going to rejoin quite a long way down now as a result of this. I think he's going to rejoin just in front of, well, he might even rejoin behind Liam de Waal. And then he'll be in the Sandip Choda bench Schupanek battle. That is not where Sergei Heras wants to be. In around his teammate. In fact, he's joined behind them.
Yeah, this is going to be close between Lopez and Heras. Now the two Adonises are battling, except they're battling the back instead of the front, and Choda's gone off there as well, so he drops down to 15th and assumes the final points position. So it's all kicking off here in Suzuka now, as Van Buren is now within a second of his teammates.
Yep, it's going to happen again, but I want them to race. I'm not in a position to judge what they should do on strategy, but we saw that battle in the 130R, Capit versus Van Buren. We want to see it again, and these two, absolutely sensational. Alex Sieber writes, Super League fighting habits are so much harder. Unnecessary, he says. That's interesting. But Chris Shepard writes, Gaia should have avoided that incident. Was that a little bit hasty from Florian Gaia to be in a position where he should not have been?
Yeah, perhaps so. I mean, again, it was similar. It just seemed like Heras just got cut up a bit on the inside of the turn, but just seemed to be a bit like touch and go on that one. Again, that's going to be another one for the disciplinary committee. We're going to have to keep a very close eye on this, but well, this is going to be a very interesting one now. This battle at the front between Captain and Van Buren. We've established from previous actions so far this race, there's not going to be any team orders going on from Mike Pittman. He's just going to sit and let this go despite how nervous it must be. And well, Van Buren, Capit, the two Vodballs going to race each other now. This is a dream come true for y'all time if Capit starts holding Van Buren up.
Well, Chris Shepard agrees with you, Josh. He says that Sergei rejoined responsibly. I have to say I agree. There wasn't really anywhere else he could have gone in the incident. And, you know, he did exactly what he had to do to bring the car back on the circuit. Just one of those moments for Flo Gaia. He'll be very frustrated at the end of it, and it's going to be difficult to see what he has to say. Rudy Van Buren is going to be made to work here by Risto Capit as they come down to the 130R. Van Buren hesitates. He waits. He sits behind his teammate through 130R. Will he challenge into the chicane? No, he's going to have a go into turn one, almost certainly, as Risto Capit is starting to hesitate a little now under the brakes. Or is Capit going to dive for the pits? No, he doesn't. This is going to be a straight fight between them as they go down to the right-hander. Van Buren in the draft. He's got DRS. Risto Capit will want to defend. He's not going to defend. He's going to let him go.
Yeah, I thought that might happen. I thought Capit might have been due a pit stop, but he didn't come in. Just lets Van Buren go to the end. A shame to see that happen, of course, because I wanted a battle. But Tyne does come in. Speaking of people who are making pit stops, so fighter goes through. And yeah, Van Buren now assumes the lead of this race. He's in front. He'll get the primary strategy. And, well, yeah, Risto, nothing he could do, really. Well, if he tried to defend, it would have been interesting, but he doesn't.
Well, you said earlier that this is going to be an interesting one for the stewards in DC, in RC, race control. I tell you what, this is going to be a difficult one. We've got at least 3 or 4 drivers in the wars, potentially looking at what could be a penalty as Risto Capit wobbles big style coming out of the right-hander before the bridge. Risto Capit very nearly throws it into the barriers himself there. It's such a difficult circuit. There's not a lot of runoff. But this is interesting. We've got the likes of Rudy, Risto, now Flo, a couple of others in there as well, who have got investigations potentially coming their way post-race. We may not even have the first 3 guys on the podium. I mean, who's in 3rd position now? David Fidek. Now, wouldn't this be interesting if we had some penalties issued and whoever ends up in 3rd position ends up potentially the race winner? Could happen.
It could. I mean, it's very interesting to see the things that have happened so far this race, sure. We'll have to see what does happen. I mean, we're not expecting Van Buren until lap 27, I believe. So that's at least another lap as Capit might be about to come in. Yep, he pits before Van Buren, but he's now going to be 2 seconds behind when the pit stops are finished.
Interesting. Yeah, Jeff Fournier and Chris Shepherd dicing with each other. Shepherd versus Fournier would be a fight even if we were teammates. A lot of people very frustrated that Risto Capit, who now pits in, did not decide to go battling with his teammate Rudy Van Buren. Do you think that might have been some instruction from the pit wall there, Josh? Do you think that that was, okay, you've had enough fun, that was getting a bit silly, don't hit each other? Do you think there was a little bit of intervention as Capit brings it right in front of David Fidek? Oh my goodness. Now Fidek is going to want to get his revenge there on Risto Capit. He is going to want to get the position back. But do we think that the reason they didn't battle that time, Josh, might have been a call from the pit wall?
Well, it might have been, it might not have been. We'll have to see. I mean, if we can get Mike Pittman, it'll be lovely if we can ask him about that. But, you know, I mean, Capit, he seems like the sort of person who would let Rudy go if he genuinely thought he was quicker, you know. But, like, he's a sporting guy, Risto. I mean, he loves winning. But if he could see that Rudy had a chance and he was going to be way quicker, he wouldn't want to hold his own teammate up. He just seems like a compliant teammate in that sense. He very much seems like the ultimate number 2 driver. But, you know, he's good at fighting for wins in his own right.
I am glued to the battle for 7th position right now. Michael Ayres versus Alex Cooper. This is absolutely amazing. Cooper has already dealt with David Francic and disappeared up the road. 6 seconds he's dropped him by. Now Michael Ayres is having to cope with the pressure of an incredibly feisty, frustrated racing driver in Alex Cooper, who is trying his best to come back through. Michael Ayres is just running his own race, having an absolutely credible performance here in the Red Archer car as Rudy Van Buren pits from the lead. But Cooper is going to want to try and dice up the inside here of Michael Ayres into the hairpin. He wants to get a good exit to see if he can run through. But now this run to the spoon curve all the way through the right-hander, there's no way to get this right. They've got to be careful. And, of course, going through in somebody's slipstream as the crosswind just checks you through. You've got to be so careful about making sure you've got the draft in exactly the right place as David Fidek pits from 3rd position. So Van Buren and Capit slightly out of position in terms of their strategy. David Fidek likewise, he will rejoin behind his teammate, behind Gergo Baldi. So he'll rejoin David Fidek in 6th position for my money. Gergo Baldi should storm past him. Yes, he does. So now it's Michael Ayres versus Alex Cooper. That is the next cars up the road from Fidek. Watch Cooper. He's going to be right underneath as he makes his move here on Michael Ayres. He'll get the DRS, no problem at all. Now, how hard is Ayres going to battle? He moves across once. So Cooper decides, right, I'll just continue going left. And he goes right, left, and they bang wheels. Cooper's going to hold it around the outside. That is how you should battle side by side. And that is what the other guys missed earlier on as Ayres gets slightly wide. Cooper gets through. But that is how you run 2 cars side by side through turn 1. The other drivers in this race who haven't managed it, take note.
Yeah, school might be very much back for them. They can take note of that and take notes and just use those notes in an effective manner. That would be lovely. But, you know, Michael Ayres and Alex Cooper, props to that. That was a good battle through turn 1 there. So Panic and Joda both pit as we do welcome Mike Pittman to the broadcast booth. Great to have you with us, Mike. Obviously, Rudy and Risto 1-2 good at the moment. But Risto losing the lead to Rudy on the straight there. Was that Risto's own call or?
Yeah, there's no team orders. Risto was pitting the next lap anyway. So knew that he was on much worse rubber than Rudy. So but they're free to battle. Otherwise, it's just, you know, I think that we saw in Singapore as well. They know when the battle's lost. They don't battle as hard with each other as they might do some others, I suppose. But yeah, that's their call.
we've touched on this before as well, how you generally allow your drivers to battle each other. You know, very fair battle. I'm sure it would have been if they'd been given the chance, but Risto obviously decided, no, I'm just going to let Rudy through here. And for Rudy now, is he just going to be trying to keep it going and coast to the end? Obviously, there's about half the race left to go. He's going to have to worry about the likes of Tyan and that behind, but Risto kind of going to act as a buffer, perhaps. So is it going to be a nice, easy win here for Rudy, do you think? Or there's still lots of potential that could happen, couldn't there?
Try telling Risto he's a buffer. No, they will both be wanting this still. When and realistically, I don't know what's going to happen at the post race. So we are looking at covering off times and looking at others. Even if we are well up the road, we might not end up well up the road.
I was going to ask you that as my next question, actually, Mike. I was just going to ask, are you guys weary about the possibility that you guys might not end up in the first and second positions that you're currently sat in? Is that a worry?
It's always a worry. I mean, if you've had any contact at all and the way the DC works post-race and stuff, it's always a bit of a worry. I think there's... I'm quite... At the start, I'm happy that we won't have caused any issue, particularly there. But that's my opinion. Obviously, I'm very biased. The Risto one might be slightly different potentially. But, I think it's no... How to put it? It's no coincidence that one particular driver has been involved in about 3 or 4 incidents in this race.
Okay, interesting. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Mike. We'll let you carry on.
Thanks. I'll speak to you later. Good luck, guys.
Right, Jarl Tyan in third position is definitely the man with a point to prove here in this one. He's in third position. If anything were to happen to the Vodballs, at this point in the race, Jarl Tyan has been the smoothest, the most consistent, the one to stay out of trouble. He's actually given Wouters an absolutely golden opportunity here. This could be a really strong podium.
Yeah, it could be a very strong result indeed. And I mean, Tyan has really managed to, benefit from all the chaos that's been going around him. That Wouters car could find itself on the podium positions. Obviously on the super soft tyres now, was on the softs earlier. He's gone back to a softer compound. And it seems to be working for him because he's got about, he's got those seconds over Florian Gaia and Gergo Baldi as well on the soft tyres. So it just seems to be Wouters' way to use the hardest tyres. And it seems to Suzuka really still worked out for them.
Well, look at the gap between Rudy Van Buren and Risto Capit now, as they're relatively close together in terms of tyre strategy. They're only separated that time by about 11, and the gap has already opened up to 2.8 seconds. That's a really interesting note. I mean, I know this part of the season, Risto Capit has grown in confidence since he won at Spa. But Josh, that looks to me as a bit of a psychological surrendering of the white flag there for Risto Capit. It's almost as if he's decided, do you know what? I've tried. I just can't beat you.
Yeah, perhaps so. Perhaps Risto, just deciding he's not going to fight Rudy per se any longer in this race, and he's just going to try and run his own race and finish second. I mean, it's all about maximising points for Vodball in the Constructors' Championship at the end. I mean, you look at Nordstrom, they're quite far down the order in comparison. They're going to make significant
we got a
back.
battle brewing. We got a battle brewing, Josh, as Baldi runs wide through. This is going to be an interesting one. I think he's going to get DRS this time, Josh. Talk us through.
Quite so indeed. Fidek this time around is going to get himself the DRS. Gaia pits for Nolsgen, and his teammate now going to go for Gergo Baldi down the inside at the side one. Just go straight forward. No questions asked. Baldi's got no defence with the superior speed of the world champion, and Fidek gets there into 4th place. Beautifully done from number 1.
Yeah, that's a textbook overtake down the straight, darting almost for the pit wall as he went through. This is how determined I am, Gergo. I'm going to get through. Don't even think about defending. I've already got you. And that's the psychological gameplay on the run down that main straight. Absolutely terrific stuff. Fantastic battling so far. Oh, Lee Morris has joined the stream. He's obviously not able to race tonight, but he's there observing what's happening at the moment. So incredibly interesting stuff. Wopke Hoekstra writes on the stream, Gaia is Verstappen, involved in multiple incidents, so it's always his fault. Is that a fair comment to make? I'm not entirely sure.
I think he's being sarcastic.
Okay, oh, fair enough. Okay.
It's a well-placed sarcasm from Wopke Hoekstra there, ever the joker, and well, it seems like this race hasn't been very much of a joke for Wouters Automotive. We're joined by Andres Wouters now in the commentary box. Great to have you, Andres. Good race for your team so far. Jarl 3rd, Gergo 5th. Seems to be going okay.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, Jarl wasn't really looking forward to this one because he has been focusing on F1 Esport all week. Granted, it's the same track, but he was not very happy about the difference in braking points. So he actually decided to start from the back on a harder compound. So that's why he was in P15. and we're quite happy to see that it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it has worked out wonders. I mean, there's been a lot going on between the race, but, you know, your guys have been there to take advantage of it, don't they? Jarl's third, Gergo fifth, and, you know, we know how good a driver Jarl and Gergo is, but, you know, the fact he's able to do this, Jarl, while concentrating on the F1 Esports series is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that learns very fast along the way. So, of course, he knew the track very well. And I think he used the fact that he was on a different pace than the others to his advantage. He stayed out of trouble, and that's why he is where he is.
Yeah, really.
For Gergo, it was a bit of a different thing. He had quite a good start, but he got hit in the incident with Rudy, I think. And that's why he was at the back. So I think he was expecting a little bit more than where he is now.
Well, it can be. Sometimes the most consistent drivers are the ones that get out the front. And, you know, I mean, just to diverge slightly, you know, we got Rudy Van Buren, who's in contention to be world's fastest game ever with McLaren. You got Jarl Tyne, who's in contention to be F1 Esports champion. Could really prove that we have the talent here at GPVWC, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think for sure we have. And I think events like this are both great for GPVWC because we can showcase the talent we have. But they're also potentially a threat to the league, I think. And that might be a bit strange to say. I think it's great in general that esports is hitting sim racing in this time. But it's also about staying up with the game. And we might see that people will tend to get attracted to the big events with the prizes and big names. And I think GPVWC has been a league that has been around for a very long time, and it deserves to stay up there as a point of attraction for all sim racers.
I'll tell you what, Jake, and I will let you get a word in here eventually. It would make for great publicity if we could see you going into the 2018 GPVWC season now featuring the esports world champion.
Well, absolutely. And to be fair, Jarl Tyne is the kind of person with the tenacity to make that happen as well, Andreas. That's one of the reasons he's now a key part of your team for the second half of the season. Is this something that's going to be continuing into 2018? Will we see him do a good job there again next year?
For sure, we're targeting that. For both Gergo and Jarl, we are very confident they can do what they want to do. And if their schedules allow for it, we want to have them in the team. We're also looking into ways to become more professional in a sense and give them even the incentive to keep going the way they're doing. And I think we have a great team now, even as well with Daniel in the team, and we're looking forward to 2018.
Fantastic stuff. Well, we've got a race to continue on with, so thank you, Andreas. Good to talk to you, and hopefully your cars will still be there at the finish.
Yeah, we hope so. Bye-bye.
Well, we've had two big incidents since we've had Andreas on the line. Ben Schupanek getting into an incident with Sandeep Choda into turn one. He was making the overtake, Sandeep Choda, and just as he came out to the right side of Schupanek, he just clipped the rear wheel, and that was enough to pitch Schupanek flat on the throttle into the barriers at turn one. Game over for Ben Schupanek, unfortunately. Lopez with a similar incident. We're being told that Lopez had an incident on the back straight before the final chicane. He got his rear tyres on the curb, and that's it. Front and rear wing gone. And he had already had an incident himself as well. So that is Fran Lopez out of the race. So now every single runner is in the points because there's only 15 of them left.
Now that's an interesting one because his team boss, Menno Clant, has just tested me over Discord saying that Fran said he had a steering wheel failure. So that might have contributed to his incident. But either way, he's out of the race. Yeah,
he pulled off at turn one. Something has definitely gone wrong with the car. And it would suggest that it's a steering wheel issue from the way that he's pulled off. So big problems there, unfortunately, for Fran Lopez. And his race is potentially over. I say potentially because if they can get that fixed, he can get himself back out there in 16th position. He's 2 laps behind Gerrit de Vries. But if he manages to complete enough laps, he'll still score a point, which is critical when you consider that Adonis is still battling for 3rd position in the Constructors' Championship, Josh.
Yeah, they are. They're still going for third, and well, they're doing a pretty good job of it. You know, they didn't have the best start of the season, but they definitely managed to have a good end of it. At least they've really picked the pace up, and they're doing a good job. And well, you know, there's a lot of teams as well who have been quite surprising as well. Mad Cape, despite not having a great car, even by the admission of their own team boss, Xavier Cavallo, was calling it a bucket of bolts and saying, well, it's not the driver's fault the car's bad, it's my fault. But yeah, you know, Xavier, honest guy, great to have him in this race as well. Shame he retired. But they've done a good job with all things considered, you know?
So Michel Golka is currently running in 14th position in the sole remaining Mad Cape at the moment. He moves out of the way, allows Cooper to go through. He's clearly not in a fight to get in anybody's way today. He's still learning the car, still learning the feel for the GPVWC racer. Whoops, he runs a little bit wide there at turn 1, but coming out of the pits, we've got Michael Ayres rejoining behind, just in front of David Francic. Sergei Heres is in there in 10th position now, the sole remaining Adonis. It's such a shame the Adonis challenges crumble, because in the early stages, both of those guys looked as though they could be competitors for the victory. Sandeep Choda, 13th position. I have a feeling he may get a penalty at the end of this one for that incident that we didn't see. I managed to catch it on the replay, unfortunately, between him and Ben Schupanek. Schupanek retiring with an awful lot of damage to the car on his 29th lap, just as he was going into lap 29. Fran Lopez retiring just a lap later, sadly. Risto Capit into the pits. So this is now basically to secure his second position. Jarl Tyne goes through. David Fidek is coming into the pits, so he'll not lose third position at least. He rejoins and filters out in front of Gergo Baldi.
Yeah, Baldi as well. You know, another driver who's had a good race. A bit of a quiet one for Gergo, you know, but he's in fourth. He's a very, very respectable result so far. You know, he's really doing quite well. And again, it's a testament to how good Wouters have been this race. You know, they've had a quiet race for the most part, but they've just gotten on with the job.
Absolutely. We know how good the two drivers are for Wouters. Automotive as Gergo Baldi tank slaps his way through the right-hand section at the end of the S's. My goodness me, Gergo Baldi had to hang on to that one, but very nicely done indeed. You're absolutely right. We know that Wouters is a team that can win races, and we know they've got two incredibly exceptional talents in Jarl Tyne and Gergo Baldi. Both of them have this incredible ability to read a situation, to work around a problem, even when their car has got damage. These two have a canny knack to just be able to take it on the chin and just get down and get on with it. And both of them have been in positions today where they've not been in the wars. They've had so much bad luck over the course of the year, both Tyne and Baldi. Don't forget Jarl Tyne getting taken off in that first corner incident at Silverstone right at the start of his campaign, as Rudy Van Buren pits from the lead just after Risto Capit has done. Gergo Baldi's been in the victory position a number of times this year, or certainly in the position for a podium, and it's all gone wrong. You only have to look at Singapore. Last time out, he would have been on the podium had it not been for that closing stages crash. So Baldi's been in a situation several times over the course of the year, as has Jarl Tyne, when luck has been against them. This time, they're actually making it work for them. As Tyne pits, Baldi's going to go through to third. Gaia's going to go through to fourth. But both Gaia and Baldi have yet to pit. So this is going very well indeed for Jarl Tyne today.
Yeah, that was a reaction to Van Buren pitting ahead of him. I believe Tyne's going to come up behind Gaia, and Fidek's not going to get ahead. But Jarl, he's got about 20 laps now to make about 14 seconds on, I believe, on Van Buren. Maybe a bit more. But, you know, he's really, he's got to go for it, you know? If there was ever a chance for Jarl, now's it.
Yeah, from his point of view, he's got nothing to lose. Jarl Tyne is in a good position. Wouters finishing third. They will want to push for the victory, and it will be a good psychological game plan to try and break the deadlock and get through if they can. So some really exciting battles for the end of this race is in the offing. We're on lap 35 of 53. Van Buren is only 5 seconds up the road from Risto Capit. I have to say, Risto Capit in the second half of the season, Josh, is a different racing driver to what we saw at the start of the year. He reminded me of a bit of a Kevin Magnussen at the start of the year. He had the speed, he had the pace, he just didn't have the consistency. He was able to get the car into a good position in qualifying, but then in the race, he would get into an incident or two. The second he had that breakthrough victory at Spa, Monza notwithstanding, Kappa has looked like a different driver. He seems to have gained the confidence, that breakthrough victory. He's now looking a bit more like a Danny Ricciardo. He's smoother, he's more consistent, he's mature, he knows how to read the situation. If Rudy Van Buren becomes too busy next year with a McLaren contract, Risto Capit is not a bad bet now to take the team leadership.
I would have put that on him from the start, to be honest. I mean, he's the sort of person you can definitely rely on. I mean, not to say Van Buren isn't, because of course he is. But, you know, Risto Capit, ever since he came into GPVWC with Walk Racing and then made his move over to Vodbull, you know, he's always seemed like the sort of driver. He gets on with the job and he makes a great natural team leader. I mean, even his exploits with Eval in the Masters Series and ITC as well. Whoever he drives for, he's just really good and he can bring the team forwards.
I have to say, if I was ever to run a team in GPVWC League, be one of my shortlist. Jarl Tyen in 4th position at the moment, running 6 seconds clear of David Fidek. Baldi has just pitted and now filters back in behind Fidek by a few seconds. So it's about stable. Alex Cooper is in 7th position now. So look, it's all kind of stabled out a little bit now. Francic in 8th position. Sergio Hedas in 9th place, doing his best to make the comeback. Paulini in 10th position. Another quiet race for him, but bringing home solid points by the look of things. Michael Ayres in 11th. Liam Duval is 12th. Sandip Choda is in the wall. Sandip Choda's in the wall. Apologies. Sandip Choda has gone straight on the run to the hairpin. So Sandip Choda, having been involved in that incident with Ben Schupanek about 6 laps ago, is now off himself.
Yeah, well, he's not only 13th, he's in the wall, and it doesn't look like he's going anywhere fast. He might even be out of the race at this rate, but yeah, Choda not having a good time of it now. He's cracked himself into the wall there. That Red Archer is not going anywhere quickly. And yeah, he's just really not moving. I think he must have given up or something must have happened. Yep, I know he's got the revs going again, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. But yeah, not good for Choda, but, you know, not really been the best race for the Red Archer driver.
Well, from his point of view, he really could do with getting that car going again because there's only 15 cars still running as Flo Gaia makes his scheduled pit stop. That is his penultimate stop of the race. Now, Choda needs to get the car going again if he's going to bring a point home for Red Archer. They really do want to get some points in the bag, as Van Buren is just at the fastest lap of the race.
I think the engine's very low on revs. He's only got about 2,000 revs. Maybe he's stuck in the gravel.
That's a very good point, actually. He's got 2 wheels in and 2 wheels off. So, from Choda's point of view, he must be desperately trying to get that car back to the pits. Because even if he drops down to 15th position, if 1 or 2 more cars retire and he completes enough of the race distance, Choda will still score points. So from his point of view, it's worth still going. He's made it into reverse. He's got out of the gravel trap. What he's got to do now is rest the car in 1st position, coast it through on minimal revs, hug the tyre barrier.
Oh, dearie me. It seemed to me, actually, there was some sort of technical failure, because Choda, I was watching when it happened, his wheel just jerked to the left and the throttle stuck. So something happened and Choda was stuck there, but then he managed to get it back into, and get the revs under control, but I think it went into neutral as well, so he must have had a hardware failure. And he's still not gotten out of the gravel.
No, he's still there. He's trying to reverse it back by the look of it. He's reversing back out of the gravel trap, because I'm guessing if he moves forward, the car is just going to snap to the right and he'll end up back where he started. This is a mission for Sandip Choda just to bring the car back to the pits. I know exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to get it out of the gravel trap.
I think he's had a disconnect because he's just rolling back now and increasing rate. And yeah, he's gone into the wall now. I think his wheel must not be responding.
Yeah, it must be out of the race, unfortunately, there, Sandip Choda. Well, that is game over. You're never going to get that back to the pits. And by the time he does so, he would not be classified anyway.
The engine's blown up as well. It's going on. It looks to be on. It's not blown up yet, but it's very hot, and I expect it will blow up soon.
Yeah, well, that's Sandip Choda's game over, unfortunately. So there will be only 14 left in this race then as a result of Sandip Choda's disconnect there, as Alex Cooper pits in from 7th position. As we said, this is the penultimate round of pit stops we're just finishing here. Rudy Van Buren 7 seconds clear of Risto Capet. This is now just a drive to the flag for these guys, isn't it? We're still yellows in that sector, of course, because of Sandip Choda's car stranded on the run down to the hairpin. So David Fidek still having flashing yellows as he goes down towards the left-hand hairpin. Baldi is actually closer to him at this point. Baldi is picking up the pace. He's actually going a little bit quicker than Fidek, whereas Flo Gaia is going faster than both of them.
Yeah, Gaia going faster than both at the moment. Really going to start to catch up here. And I'm seeing in the comments, Jeffrey Fone here, of course, for Archer driver, says it is a wheel problem. And that's coming from Nikos Evangelidakis, who's the Red Archer team manager himself. So, wheel problem for Choda, and that is going to put the engine out of the race, I feel. But my question is, why isn't he hitting the skip to save the engine?
It's a very good point, because actually what that does is that really impedes them for next time out at Austin, because obviously you carry the engine wear to the next round of the championship as well, and that's a big, big problem for Sandeep Chota and the team, letting that engine basically char grill itself. That could really impede them in terms of bringing home points next time out at Austin.
You know what it is? I understand now. I know what he wants to do. He wants to get some fish on the cook so he can make some nice sushi here in Japan.
Indeed, indeed. Right.
All he needs now is the rice and the seaweed. He's sorted.
He's not far off it, is he? Right, Van Buren leads the way. Risto Capit in second position. He has just put a lap, Rudy Van Buren, on Liam Duval. So Liam Duval is now in 12th position. So Rudy Van Buren's pace is such that he's lapped everybody up to 11th position now. Michael Ayers. Risto Capit second. Tyne in third, 9 seconds nearly ahead of David Fidek, who's only 3 seconds up the road from Gergo Baldi, who is being caught by Flo Guy, the German, who is pushing very hard indeed. Francic in 7th, Sergei Heres is now 8th in front of Dino Paolini and Alex Cooper, who's down to 10th position. Now, is that through the pit stop cycle, or has he had an issue somewhere?
Yeah, oh, in fact, yep, that is confirmation that Chota's engine has now officially erupted into flames, so get the fish on, mate. But, that is, this could be an interesting battle nonetheless. Sorry to distract from that. I just thought it was quite funny that Sandeep's engine actually burst on fire.
Yes, it did. So,
and it wasn't, it was just like a woof, massive furnace going on.
Yep, so that is game over for Sandeep Chota and Red Arch race this time. Oh, sorry, only Michael Ayers still running the race. Out in 11th position for Sandeep Chota, retiring from the race. Gerrit de Vries now up to 14th position. How about this? Green Stripes Racing could end up with 2 points on the board this time. They obviously got a nice collection of points last time out at Singapore, just by the virtue of the fact they showed up.
Yeah, just for turning up, really. Going to be interesting to see how this goes now. And, yeah... Just for showing up, they're going to get points at this rate. And Chota's still not exited off the second. You know what it is? He must be doing a barbecue if he's not left yet. But, yeah, I think I've run that joke into the ground now. I best stop.
This is the GPVWC equivalent of Fernando Alonso in the deck chair, isn't it? He's not giving up at all. Just sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happens.
Next thing you know, he'll join her in the commentary box and start doing commentary.
He needs to get a scooter to get back to the pits or something. He hasn't switched off yet, has he? The engine's still going. Bless him. Oh dear. Well, Francic and Paolini still in the race, and they are pitting together simultaneously. So that's Cooper back up into 8th position. So that must have been the pit stop cycle that put Cooper back into 8th position there. Sergei Heres has run a little bit further. I wonder, is he just trying to do, Sergei Heres, one more pit stop? Because if he's only got one more pit stop to do, that will promote him up into 7th position in this race ahead of Cooper for the long term.
Yeah, ahead of Cooper in the long term is somewhere where Sergi really wants to be, and he's, let's be fair, he's had a very respectable debut race here. He had his problems before, and, the incidents before, and that pushed him down the order, and, he's come back to 7th place, which is very respectable for Sergi. I think he's done a great job, and he shouldn't be ashamed of himself, all things considered. I think he can be very proud of that 7th place for the, number 4 car. He's going to get a good result out of this, and as the only remaining Adonis, he's going to make it to the end of a GPVWC Superleague race, which is sometimes very difficult to do. So, hats off to Sergi there.
Close battle between Michael Ayers and David Francic now. So, Ayers has actually rejoined the circuit in Francic after their last rotation of pit stops. David Francic has got himself behind the Red Archer, so he's going to want to try and make the overtaking. Now, this is interesting. We've got some chatter. We've got some chatter on the feed, which is related to Sandeep Chota's car, parked at the side of the road there in Sector 2. We've got Chris Shepherd bantering. So, which drivers are lifting in Sector 2? Wobko Hoekstra says, nobody ever looks at the yellow flags. Jeff Fournier says, are there going to be penalties incoming for not slowing enough in the yellow flag zone? And Ryan Nash does say, I was about to ask,
Chota's off.
Actually look at this.
Chota's actually come off the track now, so that resolves that. But, historically, from what I've not seen penalties given for being too fast in yellow flag zones. I think this is more of an advisory than it is an actual warning to slow down or we're going to penalise the proverbial out of you. It's just more of an advisory to the drivers just to say, look, there's been an incident, don't go as fast in this area.
So who was it that went off the track just then? Sorry, Josh, I missed that.
Chota came off the track, which clears the yellows.
Right, okay, so he's now decided that, the car has decided it's enough, so the track crew have finally got it away from the circuit, so that is game over officially then for the Red Archer, so there will be no more yellow flag warnings. But a good question there from the likes of Jeff Fournier, Ryan Nash, and of course Chris Shepherd. You know, that is potential. You know, obviously the yellow flags were there for a long time, and the rule is you do have to lift off in the yellow flag zones. Now, it's interesting because I'm not sure how many drivers will have done that.
Yeah, I mean, again, as I say, I think it's personally more of an advisory. Yeah, you're supposed to slow down.
Oh, sorry, Cooper. Cooper's going to try and make them. He's done it. What a move from Alex Cooper. That is one heck of an overtake. Round the outside of the 130R. That takes bravery and gusto of the highest order. In fact, Sergio Heras, so spooked, he almost loses it coming out of the chicane at the end of the lap. I almost Vidal. Sergio Heras has now got David Francic bearing down on him 10 seconds further back. But Alex Cooper, just when you think you've seen the best from Alex Cooper, he delivers that overtake. Wow.
And the kicker is, he didn't even have DRS.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Just use the draft from Heras there. Just use it so much. Went round the outside. Use the maximum amount of speed through there. No problems. No questions. Straight through into 7th. That's how you make an overtake through 130R. Brilliantly, brilliantly done.
That was shades of Alonso in 2005, wasn't it? As Jeff Fournier says it. You know, that is shades of Alonso on Schumacher in 2005. Absolutely incredible move from Alex Cooper. And that gives the lie to the fact that Sergio Heras really has got an opportunity for 7th place, because I imagine that both of those drivers will be pitting again, and Cooper's just disappearing up the road from Sergio Heras. I think he's got this one nailed.
Yeah, perhaps has this one in the bag now. He's really starting to gap Heras. Bruno Sousa Ferreira asks in the comments, does GPVWC say in the rules you must lift this yellow flag? Well, I've just gone and checked for you, and there is no mention of yellow flags at all. So it's just for safety of more of an advisory or anything. I mean, when you think about it, yellow flags are for human being safety anyway, so don't really make much sense in sim racing apart from warning people there's been an incident.
Yeah, Andreas Valters makes the point there. Very interesting. Yellow flags are for safety of beings. Do they make sense in a sim racing environment? It's a very good point and a good argument there, actually, because it's something that probably won't give too much of a difficulty. Now, this is an interesting one. Nordsian, 4th and 5th. Fidek has got Florian Gaia breathing down his neck. Now, I know the kind of guy David Fidek is at this point. If he knows that he's not really going to be able to challenge the Vodbulls up in front, he will not see much sense in keeping Flo Gaia at bay, especially if there's a chance that they could close up on Jarl Tyen before the end of this race. If I'm David Fidek, I'm thinking, well, Flo's caught me up and is right behind me. I might just let him go here and see what he does.
Well, Fidek and Guy are all the super team of Super League. We've established this. They work so well together. They go together like, well, cheese and crackers, really. You can't get much of a better combination. There was just no carpet pits. But yeah, Guy and, you know, Fidek, they seem like some people work together. Florian Guy is not going to go for an overtake here that he knows he can't pull off. I suspect, you know, if Fidek feels like he needs to let him through, he'll let him through, and the two Nordians will start working together. But we'll have to see what happens as Capit, I assume, will be coming out of the pits. Now, Fidek does come in, so that's why.
So Fidek comes into the pits, and he is the first of the last pit stops, as it were. Risto Capit actually has pitted before him. Sorry, so Capit on the same lap. So 10 laps left on these tyres then for Risto Capit and David Fidek on this new set of tyres. They will only run 10 laps around the circuit. Fidek exits the pits and he will rejoin ahead of Gergo Baldi. That's how much time they've made up. That's very impressive stuff.
It is indeed, and it goes to show just how well they've been getting on it, just getting on with the race. You know, Gaia and Fidek, finally, get your words out, Josh. But, you know, they've been doing a good job this race of just getting on with it. I mean, Gaia's been involved in a couple of incidents. David Fidek had problems at the start, but he's recovered. Both are going to still feel pretty grieved, I imagine, about that. About the problems at the start, because it has really hurt their chances at the win. Because, you know, time at the start of the race, you lose that, and then it's so much harder to make up than at the end. But, you know, they're going to feel pretty aggrieved, I'm sure. Maybe there'll be words said with the disciplinary committee. But either way, 4th and 5th, there was a respectable result as Van Buren pits. And I assume this will be the Dutchman's last stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Van Buren pits for what we predict is the last time in this race, as he leads comfortably over his teammate Risto Capit by half a minute, courtesy of pit stops. He'll rejoin about 10 seconds clear of his Estonian stablemate. Jarl Tyen continues on. He will not even take the lead away from Rudy Van Buren as he comes through this time by. In fact, Tyen pits on the same lap, so he wouldn't have taken the lead from Van Buren even if. So Risto Capit continues on there in second position. That is the Mad Cape behind them. That is Michel Gulka, who is there running in 13th position, 2 laps adrift. Fair play to Gulka. Again, thrown in kind of at the deep end here, like his teammate Javier de Carvalho for this round of the championship, but he's kept the thing going and he's going to bring it home in the points.
He is, yeah, and the Pole should be very happy about that. You know, it's his debut Super League race. He's driving for Mad Cape, which isn't the best car on the grid. You know, he's just come into the series. He's doing a quite respectable job.
Yeah, he's absolutely, you know, taken the opportunity that's been given him and made the best of it, which is all you can ask from a driver at this. And the pit stops for the top 5 have all now happened. Diego Baldi has done the same thing. So it's Van Buren from Capit. 9 seconds is the gap. Yaltayan in 3rd. Fidek in 4th. Gaia in 5th. Baldi in 6th. Just to give you an idea, Risto Capit has gained about 1.5 seconds on his teammate Rudy Van Buren through that phase of the pit stops. Not going to be enough to worry either driver, or certainly it might give Risto a bit more of a motivation to get on with it, but he'll have to keep in mind, of course, the fact that he's got to look after these tyres, and his tyres are a lap older than Rudy Van Buren's. Rudy Van Buren basically going a lap longer as a bit of an insurance policy there to make sure he beats his Estonian teammate.
Yeah, really wants to make sure that he gets, you know, the win from Capit here. I mean, Risto's going to be pushing quite hard, I imagine, at this late point of the race, but you know, it feels like it's almost too little too late, and ultimately he just hasn't been quick enough to beat Rudy this race. You know, it is going to be the RVB show once again, but you can't say he wasn't forced to work for it. I mean, he had to get by on pace.
Now, Fidek and Gaia, after their pit stops, have resumed their nose-to-tail running. Now, what is going to happen as a result of this? Is Gaia going to think, well, I can gain a few more points here potentially, or is he going to leave his team boss and championship opposition, as it were, in the Norwegian team? Is he going to leave him out there? Because obviously, from Fidek's point of view, he'll want to maximise scoring as many points as he physically can. It's a difficult one. What do you do in this situation? Do you try and get through and hope that you can close up on Yaltayan? There's only 9 seconds between them, but that's still a massive gap to try and make up in the last 8 laps. He's not really going to do it. What does Flo Gaia do here? Because he's got the problem of Diego Baldi closing up on them behind as well.
Yep, that is always going to be a problem. I mean, they've got to watch out for Baldi. They've got to try and catch up to Tyan. It's now a difficult situation for the Norwegian lads at the moment. They've really got to watch themselves. But, you know, I expect that they won't do anything drastic at this point in the race.
Well, they've always, it would be good for them to run in formation in the ideal position. They'll get some decent points on the board for Norwegian. They still won't score as many as their rivals over at Vodbull. And it's worth pointing out that as a result of that, Vodbull is going to score the maximum, which is 43 points. Sorry, no, it's 45 points, I should point out. So they will score the 45. It'll be 24 points for Norwegian, so they will lose an 11 point of their advantage. So the gap will come down, by my math, to 35 points in the lead. So Norwegian will really have wanted to be 3rd and 4th, rather than 4th and 5th. That would have helped a little bit. Oh, big moment there for Flo. Almost into the back of his team leader.
Yeah, and you've got to look as well. He's on different tyres to Fidek. He's on the ultra softs and Fidek on the supers. So maybe Gaia's got to pit again.
Well, that's going to be a real hammer blow in terms of their position in the Constructors' Championship, actually, as well, because Diego Baldi is not far away down the road. So that will impede Gaia, and that will drop him to 6th position. So that will cost the team. What will that cost the team? That will cost them another point. So they'll be 34 points ahead rather than 35 points ahead in the Constructors' Championship if that were to occur and Gaia needed to pit again. Still a safe enough position if they keep on scoring points, but it's definitely not done and dusted, as David Francic is the last man in for his final pit stop. Cooper and Heras will both get through. These two, Cooper and Heras, could give us our best battle of the end of the race here, because they are still battling over that 7th position, and Heras actually looks quicker than I thought he would be at this late stage of the race. Cooper has got to be running a little bit scared now.
Yeah, it's going to be cause for concern. Certainly, his top 7 going to be under threat by Heras if Sergi can just catch up to him. But, you know, these two have really been the impressors of this race. You know, Cooper's been good as always, and Heras is really impressed. They could give away an impressive battle at the end.
Gaia running wide again at Spoon Curve as he tries to close up on his team boss, David Fidek. This is a really difficult situation, to be fair, actually, because Flo Gaia will want to get away from his teammate Fidek if he can get through. But what are his tyres like? As you said, they're on different compounds. there is a chance that Gaia may need to pit again just before the finish, especially if he's being stuck behind his teammate. Either that, or he's actually just trying to run in the draft of his teammate wherever possible to conserve tyres, to conserve fuel. He doesn't need to overtake his teammate. In fact, it's actually counterproductive in terms of his teammates' battle for the championship to overtake him. But from Gaia's point of view, if he's on a softer compound, he'll want to sit right behind his teammate to use the draft to the best advantage. He doesn't want to push the car too hard. He doesn't want to overuse the tyres. He doesn't want to use up too much fuel either. So he's just taking it nice and easy behind his teammate, running in formation at 200 miles an hour. But this is exactly what he needs to do. He doesn't want to cook his tyres. He's just got to be very careful not to go into the back of his team boss.
Yeah, he's got to be careful not to go into the back of his teammate there. And, well, Fidek really just, you know, he's the world champion. He is the #1 in the cars at the moment. But
we're about to get a battle on the main straight. Ayres and Paolini. Oh, Ayres pits. I thought we were going to get a battle there as Paolini back at Michael Ayres. But Michael Ayres pits, unfortunately, just at the wrong moment.
Don't get your hopes up, man. Seriously. Honestly, but yeah, that would have been an interesting battle, I'm sure. I'm going to be interested to see what happens with Fidek and Gaia and see if he really is just trying to run in the draft here, because he's going to have a great draft. And, well, he's not going to get the DRS as we come down into 130 out. But Gaia is going to go way down the inside here, and I think he's actually going to go for the overtake. That was close. Please be careful, Florian. Well, he goes for it there, but he's given no quarter. Maybe these two are fighting until the end. I guess the trust each other enough too, but Florian, I don't think that's the tyres to myself.
Well, I wonder if Fidek's just had the issue. You know, if we're battling together with each near the end, you know, if Van Buren's winning and I'm in the top 10, it really doesn't make much of a difference. So Fidek lets him go. Fidek, that's interesting. Fidek lets him go.
Yeah, maybe they maybe Fidek got a bit like, okay, well, you obviously want to go for it. You obviously are quick corners and you can push a bit more, so I'm going to give you a chance. And if it doesn't work, then maybe we'll switch again. I don't know. But, you know, this is the thing. They're battling to the end. Evidently, you know, if they are battling each other, that's brilliant. You know, goes to show just how much mutual trust and respect they have for each other, why they are the super team in Super League.
Well, that's it. And the thing is, from Fidek's point of view, there is no percentage at all in battling with his teammate if Gaia can gain a few more points and potentially even another place. If, let's say, for example, Jarl Tyen has an incident up the road, let's say, for example, and he makes a mistake, spins off the road. Now, if he recovers and Gaia is close enough to him to get the position, they'll get a car on the podium. If Fidek isn't able to go as fast as Gaia is, look, they're already separating from each other. Fidek, yes, it would be great in terms of championship points if he could finish in 4th place, but if it's not realistic, then he may as well just let Flo Gaia go through. Because at this point, Nordtjen is not really in the fight for the Drivers' Championship. If you look at how far back David Fidek actually is from Rudy Van Buren, the gap is 80 points. Van Buren's going to win this one. Fidek down in 5th position. So that's going to be, the gap is going to be 94 points heading into Austin with 5 races to go. So it doesn't make any sense at all for Fidek really to hold up his teammate Flo Gaia when what they could get out of this essentially is a run at the Constructors' Championship.
You know what it is? I think Fidek's probably having flashbacks to 2015 because there were different teams then. Gaia, I believe, was I think was a Nordtjen driver at the time, and Fidek was out for Hawkeye. So, you know, he just won the championship, and there were different teams that were battling. But
Baldy's in the pits. Sorry, Josh. Yeah. Baldy's in the pits right to the end.
You know what this is? This is going for fastest lap. This from Gego. Well, he's on the Ultras. He just wants to plow in the fastest lap. Go on, Gego.
Well, it doesn't make much difference because he's not going to lose 6th position to Cooper. Cooper is going to be a few seconds behind him, and actually having the fact that Cooper's on the same straight as him is probably going to give Gego that gumption and that motivation to go for it. So I think you're absolutely right. Baldy wants to take something from this race. He wants to be the top of something, so why not be the top of the lap chart?
Quite so, indeed. And, well, maybe Florian Gaia are under top of the Nordtjen, as I was saying before. Fidek, maybe, you know, in 2015, he remembers they used to battle each other so hard back then. Then they became teammates. They've been teammates also, though. They have so much respect for each other, these two. And they know they can trust each other to battle each other when it comes to it, even when they are teammates.
Well, he's got a lot of time to make up, I have to say, because the fastest lap of this race, have a guess at who it might have been who set it. Yeah, obviously. Rudy Van Buren, in the pace he's in, is the fastest man on the track. He's done a 1:33.407, which is going to be an awfully tough time even for Gego Baldi to beat in terms of the fastest lap, even on fresh tyres, even with only a couple of laps in the tank. But I suppose if anyone's going to give it a go, Gego Baldi is the best placed person to do so. Gaia in 4th, Vidic in 5th, and Baldi in 6th position, getting away from Cooper and Heras. Heras has not quite been able to run with Alex Cooper in the closing stages of this one like I hoped he might. Vrancic in 9th position. Paolini is going to round out the top 10 here. In front of Michael Ayres, Liam Duval and Michel Galka are just putting in a couple of insurance policies. Galka obviously wanting to know what it feels like to run around the Suzuka circuit on a fresh pair of tyres, a fresh set of tyres with only a couple of laps of fuel to really go for it with gusto. And in fact, the man he's going to rejoin in front of is Gergo Baldi, who's going for that fastest lap. Oh, that's just cruel. And somehow Baldi just dives on the inside and says, right, follow me. I'll show you how to get a fastest lap in the bag.
Yeah, he's really going for it now as Gergo. You know, he's got no reason other than to go for fastest lap. And, well, maybe Michel Galka can learn something or two from Gergo Baldi. Maybe the Pole can learn something from the Hungarian. And maybe Michel can get a nice little bit of a tiny draft there. I don't know. But, you know, in the closing stage of this race, Van Buren now starts the last lap but one. And it seems an inevitability that he's going to win this race. Though we've learned from Sochi that's not always the case.
Well, no, indeed, but this is set to be Rudy Van Buren's 9th win of the season. He has been an absolute powerhouse in the 2017 campaign. He won in Australia, he won in Spain, at the Red Bull Ring, at Monte Carlo, at Montreal, at Budapest, at the German Grand Prix, and then at Monza. It's been an absolutely incredible season so far for Rudy Van Buren. He's had the best car 9 times out of 10. And let's be fair, every single time he has started a race and finished it, he has never finished lower than 2nd. It is no wonder he is about to take the championship. In fact, if he had stayed where he was in Sochi before he disconnected, he would have been the champion of the 2017 season by now. So it is an absolutely incredible performance.
Yeah, I guess for Rudy, you know, he couldn't have asked for much better, really. You know, he's had a stunning season. I mean, I guess he'll want to forget that Belgium was the thing because he finished 8th there. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, Rudy, not going to be happy about Belgium, but the rest of the season's gone its way. If Sochi hadn't happened, maybe would be the champion by now. But, you know, either way, as he's going to come out to start the last lap now, it really has just been his season. And anyone who argues otherwise is just mathematically and statistically wrong. He came into this race 80 points ahead. He's going to come out of it. He's going to come out of it. David Vidic, the next highest driver, you know, he's going to come out of it with another 14 points. You know, he's going to be 94 points ahead. That is an astonishing gap for Rudy Van Buren. And, you know, to come out of this race with that, it's just it's testament to just how good he is. I mean, there's going to be, what, 4 races left, 100 points on off that total. He's going to have it massively in the bag after this.
All he has to do, basically, is come home in the top 10 once for the rest of this season, and the job is done. Driver of the day, Josh? It's hard to look past RVB, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to, in the purposes of parity, I guess, and transparency and brevity and lots of other fancy words. You know what? I'm going to say Sergi Harris, just for how well he's ran on his debut.
He has done a very good job, considering he's had a couple of incidents. Well, a lot of other drivers on their debut, that would tell. Not Sergei Heras. He has been very, very competent. His resolve has been bulletproof, and he's been very, very consistent. And despite all of the things that have come up to him, he was not one of the drivers who was lapped by Rudy Van Buren. I'm going to give a bit of a credit, though, to Jarl Tyen in 3rd position. They didn't have the car to beat RVB, but Jarl Tyen was certainly a driver who could have beaten Rudy Van Buren today. He's been absolutely lightning all the way through this very, very tough race for him. And to be fair, for Jarl Tyen, this is going to be his 2nd podium of the season after his 2nd place at Spa. It will be a very good result for Jarl Tyen. But out of the final turn, for the moment, it's full 1-2, post-race scrutiny notwithstanding. But for the 9th time in 2017, Rudy Van Buren takes the checkered flag and wins at Suzuka to get himself one step closer to wrapping up the GPVWC Super League for 2017. His teammate, the Estonian Risto Capit, will come out of the final turn to clinch 2nd position. A brilliant run there, and the maximum 45 points for Vodbull Racing to close the gap in the Constructors' title race to Nordsjön down to just 35 points. Jarl Tyen is 3rd. A great run for the Valtus Automotive team, and they've got to be happy with 3rd position there, with the 2 Nordsjön cars of Flo Geyer and David Vidic through in 4th and 5th position. Good race.
I do believe the points gap actually goes to about 25 now, so they've really closed it down. Vauxhall really starting to make strides.
Oh, yes, 25.
Now.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
because there was a significantly more points gap. But Tyan gets a well-deserved podium. 4th and 5th for the two Norwegians. Baldy should come on 6th. Cooper should be 7th. Heras, again, my personal driver of the day, just for how well he's done in his debut. Not many people can see the level up on their GPVWC debut, can they? And Sergio Heras is going to be one of them when he comes home in 8th place. David Franchich coming home for 9th, probably, and Dino Paolini is going to get top 10 from Hayes, Duvall, and Golka. The last over the finishes, the retirement scores De Vries, Chana, Lopez, Barak, and Carvalho. But, yep, good job from the Red Bulls and good job from everyone.
Galka has finished in truly sensational style. He comes out of the final turn and spins it into the pit wall. Michel Galka. The things you see in sim racing at the finish of a race that you would never see in real motorsport. Absolutely incredible. Sergei Heras crosses the line in 8th position in front of David Franchich. And as you say, a solid debut there from Sergei. He can be very happy with that one, to be fair. It's been a really, really tough race, but for the 9th time in the 2017 campaign, it is Rudy Van Buren who takes the checkered flag after a very strong performance, and it's a 1-2 for Vauxhall Racing in what has been a truly comprehensive run. First lap of the race, job done, by the way, for Gergo Baldi. He did it, a 1:33, 1:64, right at the bitter end. So we wondered if he would. He's done it. Well done to Gergo Baldi.
Props to him. It takes something to do that. I mean, fastest lap's not easy to get. No worries, a race win, but Van Buren's gone and done it anyway. And while Liam Duvall in the race start saying water's wet, grass green, Rudy Van Buren wins the race. It's hardly surprising anymore, is it, to be honest? It's just the way he's been this season. But, well, he's done well to win it anyways. I think we got people who we can interview now. And I personally think, Jake, we should start with a certain errant Xavier de Cavallo, who, yeah, he retired first. He retired relatively early in the race. But it's good to have him back with us in a racing format. Welcome to the broadcast, Xavier. Great to have you here at Suzuka, even though things didn't quite go your way.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, having me back, even if it was just for a really short time.
Well, it's, you know, it was at least a race. You know, it's not often we get to see unfamiliar names. Perhaps some people come in, but of course, Mad Cape team manager yourself, having to go in that car. Obviously, you know, you're in charge of building it, so you should know it like anybody else.
You would think so, but clearly I don't. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it drives the way it does.
Well, Lee Morris has had a good few results in it.
Yeah, but then again, that's Lee Morris, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
true. He is pretty good. But yes, didn't quite go your way, unfortunately. Michel Garca, though, on his debut, got a nice 13th place, so some points coming out of the race. It's not a total disaster.
That's great. I don't think it's going to do much for our fight to go up into 3rd place, but, you know, we'll take what we can get at this point, especially with our two main drivers out. A little bit unlucky or unfortunate, I think, for the last 2 rounds. With Nick being overseas last time, and this time just getting caught up with some jet lag, and then Lee having some network issues across both these weekends. Let's see if we can get it sorted out and try and make another big run, you know, in the final half of the season.
I've got to ask, actually, one of the things that always fascinates me, Xavier, is that when you look at people coming up at drivers, you know, coming into the championship as a newbie, straight in there. I mean, you've had some time away from the sport. Obviously, things have changed since we've gone to R Factor 2. The car is different. You've jumped straight in. No prep, no testing. Boom, straight into the race. Just describe what the car is actually like to drive for those who are watching this thinking, well, surely it's just a normal R Factor 2 single-seater F1 car. I mean, it should be fairly straightforward. Just what is it actually like to drive?
When I have to choose my words very carefully. Otherwise, I think I might get banned for using too many swear words.
Was it that frustrating? Was it really difficult?
To be fair, it wasn't actually that frustrating. I literally ran with the default setup and then knocked a bit of wing off of it. I think I ran, what was it, 10 on the rear and 20 on the front. I did something stupid like that, but that's literally all I did. And then I think I popped the gear ratios up a little bit just to see if I could get a little bit of top speed, if I ever did get in, you know, someone's slipstream at some point. But the car's not so bad, not as bad as I was actually expecting it to be. You know, coming from iRacing where, you know, you're pretty much driving on glass at points, it was actually quite refreshing to have a little bit of grip. Whether that was because I was driving so damn slowly, I'm not sure. But yeah, the car's pretty fun to drive. I think GPVWC have done a fairly decent job. I think we could have done some better things in terms of the upgrades. Maybe it could have been a little bit better to drive. But R Factor 2 versus another sim like iRacing, or, you know, it's I wouldn't say it's completely night and day, but there are definitely some little bits that are effective enough or that are big enough to make a drastic kind of effect on the way you have to drive the car. So the biggest reason, or the biggest thing, sorry, in R Factor 2 is the tires, and the way that you have to manage them. Whereas in iRacing, you're pretty much driving on endless rubber. So having to adapt to that coming into R Factor 2. I mean, I've raced R Factor 2 before, but again, this is the first time I think I've touched R Factor 2 remotely competitively in a year, more than a year maybe.
Wow.
The last time I actually touched this car, to be fair, was in the preseason. So yeah, this was coming in completely blind. I had fun for the first 12, 13 laps, and then I think I started becoming a little bit dangerous with the way that I was driving. It wouldn't seem like that to anyone who was watching. But I could feel that the way that I was driving was just changing, and I was getting a little bit too comfortable with the car. And when I made that first sort of snap coming out of turn 1, I think on lap 15, I just decided this is the time to park it, because if I had to make a move like that when the leaders were coming by, you know, I don't want to be that guy.
I have to say, it was fantastic to watch you in the early stages, especially considering, you know, you have come into this so blind, Xavier. Very good drive, to be fair, and really back in.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last one.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to say, really good to see you back in the league again. Yeah, and thank you for coming back and racing.
Yeah, it was actually good fun. Let's see, maybe if I do a little bit more practice, I can possibly fill in for Lee or Nick if they don't make the next round or whatever.
I'd love to see it back.
Like I said, the car's fun to drive, but yeah, I just need more practice, I think.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll see you next time out at Austin, and good luck with it.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
And by the way, Xavier, checks in the post for 2018, yeah?
Yeah, but again, like I say, we have to get rid of the Scuderia VB Mad Night line alight. What do we call it? I don't know.
I can pay any potential partners off. I've got Japanese one.
Excellent. Right, we should move on. Let us talk to the guys who are leading the Constructors' Championship and brought their cars home in a very solid and respectable position, it has to be said, after what was a tough race right from the start. Let's talk to Flo Gaia in 4th and David Feidick in 5th position. First of all, Flo, just off the podium, both cars bringing it home very close in the end there. Where did that race start to slide away? How important was the start issues for those? Do you think you could have beaten them without those problems?
Yeah, I can tell you where it went away. You just gotta ask Rudy and Risto, because, you know, all the time they're up there and talk shit about people and, you know, come across pretty arrogant, and then they can't even race wheel to wheel on the first lap and on the first corner. You know, the guy's about to become champion. I expect him to be a bit more careful and not take out. I mean, I could have easily spun or taken out a lot of cars. Yeah, I'm gonna be careful what I'm gonna say. So,
okay, so what you're saying is that you guys are adamant that was an incident that didn't need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm side by side with him. Why is he turning in so hard? And turn 1, the same with Risto. You know, I'm still alongside. It's a 53 lap race. What the hell are they gonna gain from something like this, you know? And I think I had the pace. The Rudy was pretty quick, I gotta admit. So hats off to him for that. But Risto, I'm pretty confident I could have beaten today. Even if they're gonna say our strategy was wrong, but it wasn't. At least for me, it was perfectly fine. I undercut at the right time, and yeah, but. It just wasn't meant for me today. Same with the incident with the Adonis guy who spun in the Estes and also just turns in on me, and I lose even more time. So the only thing I'm actually happy about was me and Dave was like the first time wheel to wheel in God knows how many years. You know, we always have more or less an agreement who's fastest going past, and today we really battled for it. So it was the only thing in my quali lap. I really liked it, but everything else was
It's a real shame. I know exactly how you guys must be feeling. David Fidek, a similar situation from your point of view as well. I mean, you obviously had a difficult start as well. Do you feel similarly to your teammate?
No, not as bad. No. I mean, I didn't expect much this race because my little girl was born like a week ago. So,
oh, congratulations! Okay, fantastic. That's brilliant.
So yeah,
a mini Fidek.
Yeah, she'll be running this league soon, so be careful.
I was going to say, how long until we see her in an Alton Drive, eh?
Well, what's the age limit? So we'll see. And plus, I own Red Arrow. I own Red Arrow.
Fran Lopez. I think Fran started racing when he was, what, 15? So...
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a GPVWC karting league at some point. Yeah. I'm sure that can happen
let's not talk about Fran. But anyway, I've got... I mean... I've got Red Arrow, so she'll be in that before Nords anyway. So she's got a guaranteed seat. Anyway, so because of that, and I only tested. God, when did I test? Tuesday for an hour, and then a little bit last night. So I wasn't really on the pace anyway. But yeah, I don't know what happened in front of me. I was going towards turn 1. I saw Rudy sideways, so sensibly I lifted off to try and avoid. Rudy, who was a bit wide, and as I was being cautious, somebody else dived on the inside and hit me into Rudy, so that caused a lot of damage and put me back. A lot of tyre wear as usual with these cars, even more with damage, and then it was just trying to crawl back through the pack with the damaged car. So I think it would have been nice to get P3, but with the extra tyre wear it was impossible. And then it was even more disappointing that, the last few laps I lost another one when I'm fighting for P2 in the championship. But, yep, that's the way it goes. Bit hectic, but it's all right.
Yeah, I guess, guys, that was the way the figure of cookie crumbles in this instance. And, well, it's been an interesting Suzuka going forward. I guess, the goal for you and Flo is trying... Oh, dearie me. I guess the goal for you and Florian, guys, is just going to be trying to... keep a handle on the Constructors' Championship, because you're all still leading from Vart, but we're only by about 25 points now.
We're still leading, all right. That's good anyway. Yeah, it was. Yeah, after turn 1, it was like just bring the cars home, damage limitation. But like Flo said, on a clean race, I think we could have fought Risto, but Rudy was in another league today. So what's next? Austin, Mexico. Which one? Anyway, one of the tracks I'm good at, Mexico. So. Yeah, onwards and upwards and try and keep P1.
There must be a bit of a shift in dynamic over the last couple of weeks at the team, because obviously now you guys leading the Constructors' Championship. Okay, it's a small gap, but you're still leading the Constructors' Championship. Was that part of the process in the planning for this race, to see if you can score enough points? If you guys bring both cars home enough times in the points, you might just edge this championship now, potentially.
Well, that's our plan all season, is to... bring the cars home and consistently score points, but you can't always rely on the other cars around you, lap 1, but everyone makes mistakes, so I'm not going to abuse no one right now as I look back at the replays. But yeah, we always plan to outscore our nearest competitor, that being Red Bull. Wow. Anyway, see, no sleep, baby sleep. Yeah,
well, it's Red Bull because, of course, both cars are red. So I can see where you made that mistake.
But yeah, no, they did good today. It was nice that the quali pace, we were a lot closer, and we all shared the front 2 rows. Our starts are better now. We fought them into turn 1. So things are picking up this latter part of the season, but we just need that little bit more, else they're going to take it easy. So yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, good luck for the next time out at Austin, and we hope to see the Nordians fighting for the podium once again. Good luck.
Cheers.
Right, let's bring in the man who brought it home in 3rd position after an absolutely spectacular run, along with his team boss. Let us talk to the Norwegian talent, Jarl Tyen, along with team boss at Valters Automotive, Andreas Valters. First of all, Jarl, great to see you back on the podium again, your 2nd Rostrum visit this season. That must have been a very satisfying race in the end.
Oh yeah, for sure. Considering the lack of practice and me putting all my effort into F1 esports. I really wasn't feeling comfortable during practice earlier today, since I've only done one practice day before this, so this is the second practice day, and I was kind of, going in kind of dark into the race.
Absolutely fantastic. So to come through all of that, obviously with the F1 Esports Championship, obviously that's very, very intense, working very hard on that. Did you even imagine a podium could come today?
I'm always open for anything, but I guess third is a lot better than I expected. I was hoping for points. That's all I was hoping for today, and just staying clear of all the trouble.
Fantastic.
It is a strategy that sometimes works, just steering clear and out of problems. And well, we were joking on the broadcast that it would be nice from a PR point of view. We're going to have the F1 Esports Champion in 2018. So yeah, go out and win it for her, will you, y'all?
Sorry, what was that?
I was saying, go out and win the Formula 1 Esports Championship, because it's great for us from a PR perspective.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna give it my all. If I make top 5 to qualify and then go for it in London, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe y'all time will be video game famous soon. Anyway, Andreas, to go to you, we spoke to you in the race, obviously, and you had a decent outing, I guess, this race. Good results for y'all and Gergo. You've really managed to make the strategy you were on work, because we noticed you are a team that likes to use the harder tire compound.
Yeah, so our single goal for this race was to be more in points than Adonis, because they are the team that's chasing us. I think it's at this point a bit of a far stretch to catch the other guys in front of us, but we want to be third. And the guys like to use the hard tires, that's true. They know how to use them, they know how the car works, and it worked out very, very nice.
Yeah, obviously works out okay, and well, the harder compound's not usually used by other teams, but you're making them work out as well. So it's been pretty good to see that work, and it's nice to see the soft tyres used in a league where a lot of people decide to forego them in charge of better rubber. But yeah, it's been great having you in this race. It goes well done in your third and your fifth as well. Thank you, y'all. Thank you, Andres, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jakey boy, I think it's time that we make this broadcast room a little bit bigger, and we bring in, well, a bunch of people who I'm going to call the VOD boys. It's Mike Pittman, Risto Cabot, and our race winner, Rudy Van Buren. And we'll start with the Dutchman himself, Rudy. Great job on the way now, as always, and you now pretty much have 1 3/4 hands on the title.
Yeah, hello, good evening, thank you. Yeah, well, it's not done until it's done, but it's definitely going the right direction.
Yeah, going the right way, where you've pretty much only got to score a top 10, I think, in the next round, and you've secured it, regardless of what happens now. So it's seeming like it's your title, but I must be honest, it wasn't a race without incident.
No, this one was action-packed, to be honest. For me, the action kind of with incidents finished after T1, but I saw many things happening around during the race.
Yeah, Suzuka kind of lends itself to interesting racing, and obviously, you had that contact in turn 1 with, well, first it was with Florian Gaia and then with David Feidick, but, you recovered from that pretty well, and eventually you got past your teammate Risto Cabot, who we've also got with us, and Risto, for a while I thought he was going to go for the win of that race, but ultimately beaten by Rudy, but still a very good show to get second.
Yes, I did not think that I would win. I could see that Rudy went like 9 laps in the first stint, so he could have 2 laps fresher tires the whole race, plus he was faster than me, so I was just lucky to be ahead, and again lucky to have the Norwegians spin out, so, but yeah, great result.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, it was a tough race in stage, battling in there, quite a few drivers around you. I mean, can you through those first couple of corners? I mean, certainly from both drivers, first of all, Rudy, I mean, your first corner was a little bit wayward.
Yeah, I actually, the whole race, I had a few of it in my head that kind of remind me of something like 20 years ago. But when I watched the replay, I think me and Flo both got equal blame for that. He could have been more to the inside and backed out earlier. Well, difficult to judge that one. I don't think the driver should even do that. And we ended up colliding, which was not the way we obviously both wanted. And, well, we both could continue at that point, so I don't think it's worth spending more time on it. But yeah, it happened.
Yeah, a very astute judgment from Rudy Van Buren there, you know, and, well, at the end of the day, you still got the 1-2, which I'm sure is going to please Mike Pittman of all people, of course, the team boss of Vodball, who himself now finds himself in a position where Vodball are closing the gap back up to Nordstream in the team's championship, so potential still to win both titles is on.
Oh, well, we'll keep battling, of course we will. I don't think it'll be, you know, as we saw last time out, it's not going to be easy at all. The guys were brilliant today. You know, pace was fantastic, and yes, unfortunately, maybe not quite as fair a battle once we take into damage and such. There's different levels of damage on both teams' cars, I think. So hopefully next time out we'll see a proper fight again. But you know, what more can I ask for? 1-2. Yeah, it's still in our hands. If the guys can drive like that every race, then yeah, we can get some extra silverware.
It's a testament to really how good your drivers are when you've got a weakened car coming out of the problems that you've had, and you still manage to go ahead and take the win. I mean, the Vodball car is still there or thereabouts, and there's not that much in the development anyway. It's not the strongest car, but it's still good enough to win races with in the hands of Captain Van Buren. And again, that's testament to how good, well, arguably Estonia's best sim racer and R-Factor 2's worst fastest gamer are.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a few factors to that. I mean, we did, the moment the car got taken down in Monza, we still got a victory out of that, but we did see it as a problem last time out slightly. There is the bonus, of course, that we're quite near the end of development for some cars, so Nordstream can't develop certain areas because they've maxed it already. So we brought some upgrades to this event. We're going to keep developing all the way through to the end. I owe that to the guys, so I'll give them the best chance to get the titles at the end, basically.
And I've just got one more question for you all there. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck was Rudy Van Buren?
Honestly.
Wow.
What sort of
I don't even
question?
understand it.
Yeah, to get him to understand that question is going to be an interesting one.
But I'm basically saying who can stop him, but it's like he can throw the whole field out for all week, eh? Pretty much the title now. Hey Rudy, I'm just playing with you.
All good.
You can make your own decision from the last 14 rounds.
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, I tell you what, it's been absolutely fantastic. And Mike Pittman, this is a really good step for the team as well, because obviously 2 cars home, first 2 positions. You've cut the points deficit to Nordstream in half. This is a really good step forward to try and get that Constructors' Championship lead back again.
Absolutely, yes. That's well, realistically, that's the aim now. Rudy's got his own sights, or one finger maybe on a trophy at this stage. David might have something different to say about that, but but you know, yeah, it's now for me. We're looking at how can we gain that points back? How can we get back up there? Because I did like it when we had that points gap. It was nice. So it would be quite nice to get that, or you know, to get ahead of it. Now we are running out of rounds, but more rounds like this, and we'll be very happy come the end of the year.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time at Austin. Thank you all very much indeed. Rudy Van Buren, Risto Capit, and team boss Mike Pittman. The Vodball Racing 1-2 achieved at Suzuka. Well done, guys. Very good job.
Thank you.
Well done to you guys.
Right. So what happens next then? We take a 2-week break as always, and then we move on to the Circuit of the Americas. How is that going to go? Is this going to be where the championship is won and clinched, do you think, Josh?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, Cota's a very power-focused track because you've got that massive back straight. And, of course, you've got to remember as well, that Valiant engine is not as good overall in terms of, overall development points as the other engines now. So it might be a bit of a weakness for Vodball, though I'm sure they'll be doing their best to be as strong as they can in that race. Then you've got Mexico, another circuit where you need a lot of straight-line speed before Brazil and Abu Dhabi, the final 2 circuits. So it could still be, interesting, but Van Buren really only has to get about a top 10, and the title's got to be that of the Dutchman.
Absolutely fantastic scenes potentially on the way then for the Vodball Racing team in 2 weeks' time. Josh Anderson, it is a pleasure once you from Suzuka. We move on to Austin with bated breath as to what can happen.
Yeah, nobody knows. Really, nobody knows. I don't know. You don't. Does anybody know? Only time will tell.
So for the 9th time this season, Van Buren top step podium. We don't know what will happen in the stewards' room. There's obviously a few incidents need to go into a little bit more scrutiny, but we will let you know what has happened by the time we get to the Super League show next week with myself, Ben Willis, and Casper Golodijic going through all of the analysis on next week's show. We're back in action once again for action from 2 weeks' time from the Circuit of the Americas. Formula Challenge on Tuesday night, Super Cup on Wednesday, and Super League on Thursday. Keep it real here on the GPVWC YouTube channel. Keep up with the championship itself on GPVWC I'm Jake Sanson. We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for the Circuit of the Americas.